And from the Superbook.com sports desk, I'm Jonathan Schaefer. The Braves defeated the Cardinals yesterday 7-1. Austin Riley homered and drove in 3 runs.
Lifted to right and deep, retreating Capel at the wall, and it's gone into the top house. 2-run home run to the opposite field for Riley. And it's 3-1 Braves.
Atlanta is 2.5 games behind the Mets for first place in the NL East. And Demaryius Thomas had CTE, according to doctors from Boston University who had been studying the former NFL star's brain. Thomas was found dead in his Georgia home this past December 9th, just 15 days before his 34th birthday. For our Foundation Repair and Waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Welcome in. J. Martin and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone, lifted up by all Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. It's Wednesday. It's a hot one already. Set the sprinkler before I left the house because that might be about the only chance you got.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be cooking by, what was it, 9 a.m. yesterday was over 100 degrees, feels like temperature.
Oh, I saw something that said we're already on pace to crush the record for 90-degree days in Tennessee.
We're technically under a heat advisory with no exceptions, even overnight.
Even overnight?
Through Friday at midnight.
I can't even get cool at nighttime?
Not really. It's muggy outside. It's gross.
Well, the way the cooking on that grill felt the other day, yeah, it definitely is zero tolerance.
We were grilling Friday.
Whew.
It wasn't as bad, but it was bad enough.
Yeah.
It was bad enough.
Set off my fireworks. I was sweating down. It wasn't too bad whenever we were shooting off fireworks. Got a permit for that too, by the way. I wasn't illegal. But yeah, it was hot all day on the 4th. It just was. It was hot yesterday. I thought it was hotter yesterday.
It was hot yesterday.
It was hotter. Yeah, God, dog, Jay. What are we doing here, man? No rain break or nothing.
It's July 6th. Titans camp opens in 20 days.
At least 20 days.
Then once we see the pigskin, we'll know it's coming. The temperatures that we all like.
Oh, no.
Quarter zip season. It's in the distance.
Oh no.
It feels like it's a long way away. Ramon Foster's here. Jonathan Schaefer's here. I'm Jason Martin. We're on Twitter at @JMartinRamon. It's at Ramon Foster and at Schaefer on Sports and at JMart Radio.
Did I get it then? I was decent.
No.
So I'm gonna drop something interesting on the way in. Not interesting, but something that's been bothering me for days.
Drop a nugget.
All right, so I heard the ad on the way in. Pod Save the World or Pod Save the World. Yeah, Pod Save the World. Or Pod Meets World. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's a Boy Meets World rewatch podcast with Topanga and Sean and Will Friedle, who played Corey's brother.
Yeah.
They're going through every episode, which they said none of them have watched it since it aired.
Oh, wow.
So they're going back through it. And it's a really cool idea. I like these rewatch podcasts, especially when it's the cast, because they can give you a lot of, they can laugh at themselves and have fun with it. But how are you going to do this show without Corey Matthews?
That's what.
Where the hell is Ben Savage for this thing? I get it if it's like a bunch of bit players. I understand the Office Ladies podcast with Pam and Angela. I get it. I understand Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey doing their podcast and people from the show that aren't necessarily the biggest star doing it. But when you got the girlfriend / wife, the brother, and the best friend, what's tying all these three pieces to what's Ben Savage up to that he doesn't have time to do this podcast? Because if you add him to this, that's maybe a top 10 podcast for people our age, because I'm very interested to hear this. Really excited about it. But without Corey, it feels like it's lacking in a major way.
I would the fact that Topanga on there would make me want to turn in, but
I'm
turn it on.
I agree.
For sure. But if Corey's on Ben Savage, then I'm like, okay, well, I need to hear what that was like for them. Like the conversation, like where did they know they were being portrayed the way they were, as far as young girlfriend boyfriend type of stuff, and how that manifested into a lot of different stuff. The crushes that people had on either Topanga or Corey, and just
we had the Topanga discussion on this show. We all
absolutely. She's Crush City. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we're all on the fans.
She gets a box of chocolates every Valentine's Day. That's her, okay? But it'd be interesting to know what he thought of her while recording those episodes and whatnot. That's kind of silly. What do you think could have broke that down, Jay? The chat?
I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what podcast network it's on or if they're doing it independently. I don't know where the revenue's coming from. I haven't seen Ben Savage doing anything.
No.
So it's not like I'm looking at that just like, oh, well, he's super busy.
He's
like, unless I don't know. I know he was doing Girl Meets World for a little while.
Yeah.
And maybe that's still going. I don't know. That show just didn't work. It just wasn't very good.
I'm looking at his wiki right now as far as stuff he's done. 2022 Girl in the Shed.
Okay, I don't know
as
what that
a
is.
show. And then the last movie he's done was Girl Meets Boy. He was Scott in a movie. This is 2013, Jay. So he got time.
The only thing I can think of is his brother's tied up in Me Too, or he's tied up in some potential harassment suits, Fred. Like I'd heard about that a few months ago. It doesn't, and it's not like they're going to put him in a bad spot.
No,
you would think. I mean, you never know. You always hope every cast you watch are like great friends and all. A lot of times that's not the case. But I find it hard to believe that if those three are that tight, that Ben's not. That Ben's totally aloof on the other side of all that. Like maybe it's a Tobey Maguire. He don't want to get typecast and don't want to get brought back. He's tired of that world. He did the spinoff. He did the movie you just mentioned.
Yeah.
He did all of that. Maybe he's just done with it. It's like, well, why are you going to get done with it now? Because this property has legs.
Yes, it does. And the fact that we don't have, well, there are some good series and shows on, but we're in that recycle phase of our era, wanting to relive this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So why would you not do that? That's the reason Toy Story, they're strategic in re-releasing new movies releasing new movies.
Finding Nemo finally had a sequel. Cars has had 3 sequels. Like all of these things are happening. I would say this would be just a background question for today's program. What show would you most like to see a podcast with some of the cast going back and rewatching?
I got one
in the vein of this. Well, I think there's a long potential list of this. This one, I will be paying attention. Doesn't mean I'm going to go back and watch the episodes. I don't know about that. I did the rewatch with the Boy Meets World a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it's still great. I still enjoy it quite a bit. I just don't know that I have the time. Yeah. Although it's a series that I wouldn't mind CG watching.
Yeah.
It's good for the family and all that. So maybe.
But my thing is Ben Savage. Nobody's been checking for you. So come out and just knock down these checks, man. Get as much of it as you possibly can. When it comes down to continuing that, you're clearly doing work. There's a show that he's working on again, as I just said, Girl in the Shed, the kidnapping of Abby Hernandez. Like that's where he is. It's a television film. You got this going on. He did something as recent as 2020. Also, he was on Homeland. As the English teacher. So he's playing the roles of the stuff that he did in Boy Meets Girl, but I'm trying to figure out Boy Meets World. But as far as that's concerned, he gotta show up. I mean, if Martin can do it, the show with Martin Lawrence and Gina and Cole, everybody's looking for this type of stuff. These early 90s shows got to get revisited at some point in time.
Yeah.
It was a great time, man.
It was. And it's just if you're of a certain age, it allows you to go back. It's the director's cut. Let's go back instead of the 21 minutes that we had in this episode. Let's mock everybody's clothes and their hair and how many times we had to reshoot this and this guy was cracking us up on this spot and took all this. Like all of that kind of stuff is just, let's just say it, man. It's much more interesting than a lot of the stuff it's a lot more pleasant.
Yeah.
Than a lot of the stuff that's out there right now.
And he's had no controversies come up himself.
Not that I know of.
Topanga a few years back was on Maxim. I mean, they've all had their sprinkles of just, okay, let me jump
adults.
out. Yeah. They're adults now. This is pretty pretty interesting on why somebody wouldn't. The only thing I can think of is maybe he's filming something, but even still, a pod doesn't take any time at all.
Not generally.
Not this day and age. It's got to be the money, or just maybe he doesn't like his brother from the show.
Here it is. Why Ben Savage is not part of the Boy Meets World rewatch from Variety. I just decided I'm just going to look it up because it's been driving me crazy since I heard about this.
Kind of irks you a little bit, don't it?
All right, so it's an iHeart podcast.
Okay.
So I don't think that makes anything. It says Ben Savage is doing his own thing. He's doing Lifetime movies. He's busy. We would love for him to have been a part of the show. We asked him to be a part of the show, she explained. Is that official? Yeah, that's Topanga who's saying this. He appeared in all 158 episodes, of course, of Boy Meets World, as well as all 72 of Girl Meets World. 3 stars began discussing doing a podcast in 2018. We talked about it with Ben, and Ben was like, I'm not sure it's really my thing.
Oh, wow.
He said it just really is not my thing, and we've respected that. It's not his thing. That's why Ben is not here.
Really?
Here's the funny thing. I will bet you if this thing actually does manage to like take off and people are enjoying it, about 50 episodes in, or at some point around Christmas, Ben will make an appearance.
Yeah.
He'll figure out, oh, wait, this is fun.
Yep.
And in the back half of this podcast, he'll be a lot more prevalent because I think he thinks it's not his thing, but he doesn't realize once you just sit down with people and just, especially in the podcast universe, the way you can do it, it's not going to affect his life the way he thinks it is.
Right.
I could see him joining it later.
You know what, though? This day and age, a lot of people feel like they're going to be overexposed, or the fact that a lot of people you see doing stuff makes you think you're not a part of a situation, right? I got a call recently from the NFLPA / NFL alumni, and they was like, hey, man, we're having this event. We want you to be here, just an inviting open invitation. And on the phone, I'm talking to a guy. He was just like, we got to make sure that guys like yourself and others who feel like they're not a name that we knew, just because you didn't make an all-pro winner Super Bowl or something like that, doesn't mean you're not a part of this fraternity. And it kind of resonated to me a little bit. A lot of people walk away from what they did for a very long time, Jay, like Ben Savage, and just feel like they're not as important as they once were. And that's not the case. And maybe it's a little bit of that with him saying it's just not my thing. Until you realize there's a lot of love to be given to a people because you affected a population of people, Jay, for a very long.
Grew up, a generation of kids that are now your age grew up with you.
Absolutely.
Teaching, learning lessons and all this. Ryder Strong, who plays Sean.
Love Sean in the
he
show,
said
by the way.
Bonded with Will Friedle immediately. That was the older brother.
Yep.
But didn't grow a true bond with Savage for a few episodes. He said Ben was really into sports. I wasn't. A lot of the first early episodes, he wanted to play basketball with the other kids. Ben was working a lot. He was in every scene. That's a lot for a young kid. So he was gone. He was sort of distanced. He was very much in his own world. I remember him working and being busy, needing to learn his lines, and also going to school. He was sort of, at that point, Hollywood royalty for us. His brother's show, The Wonder Years, was such a hit. He was the person who knew what we were doing more than any of us. So he was very serious about – Ben was very serious about the acting side of it. Interesting.
Yeah.
I like when I first heard about it, I had a friend that was just like, how is Ben not in this? It's just like, well, that actually is more what I assumed it probably was. He's just probably trying to move on from that universe because he spent his entire life in it. He may now just want to prove, like Kevin Durant, I can do it without Golden State.
Well, okay, that's pretty tough though. Who's gotten trapped like that also? The one person in particular I can think of, Hillary Banks.
Yeah, she never got out of that.
She never
Karen
got
Parsons
out of it.
did Major Pain and a couple of other little
she
things, and that was really about it.
I thought she could have. I thought in Major Pain, I thought she was pretty solid.
She was good.
I thought she was real good. Like, I guess it's hard to get trapped when you take the craft very seriously too, or you hate to get.
But
trapped.
I think the thing, but there's a double-edged sword there because you get trapped, but you also get trapped in a great property.
Yeah, you do.
Where you become an iconic figure. If Karen Parsons never does anything, Hillary Banks lasts.
Yes.
Hillary Banks means we know who Karen Parsons is for all time.
Or
so
you spin it like Carlton did with America's Funniest Home Videos.
Well, he was gonna be a star.
You thought okay?
Because he
thought
was a
he
star
would have got
before.
trapped.
He was in Silver Spoons and he was doing dance competition. Like he's just a really talented guy. Alfonso Ribeiro's just a talented guy.
Alfonso Ribeiro.
615-737-1045 is the telephone number. We are going to talk sports, but That was something that I
We
heard
are?
that, and I didn't want to. Maybe we got Jeremy Fowler's GM list and stuff like that coming out.
Yeah.
The top edge rushers and college football. Man, just the two big reports over the last 24 hours are just staggering how fast all of this is happening. Brian Rice will join us from Knoxville. We'll talk all of this stuff with him, but I bet you we talk about this podcast more if I had to bet on it.
You'll also talk about the letters going back on top of Neyland Stadium, too. They got reinstalled yesterday.
Here we
I
go.
gotta ask him about that. It didn't register
They
to
spell
me
it
as a
right?
player.
You got to check those transcripts.
The fact that
They
we
spell
gotta,
it right?
The fact that we gotta ask that question.
OSV, just we're living wild. And again, a background question today. What TV show do you want, or would you, if you could do it, a podcast for a rewatch of, and who would be on that podcast for that television show? And, we imagine a lot of this is coming from the 90s, but it depends on your age. You might be giving us MASH, and that's fine. Totally fine. Take it wherever you want. We'll be back. It's Jay Martin on 104.5 The Zone.
As leaders in disaster cleanup and restoration, listen to me. The pros at ServPro are prepared for anything, like when a relief valve on your water heater fails and it pours gallons of water into your finished basement. ServPro is prepared for it. Or when an electrical shortage in your office causes extensive smoke and water damage. ServPro is prepared for it. Or a musty odor indicates you might have a mold problem. ServPro is prepared for that too. You need a lot more than help sometimes cleaning up, and that's why ServPro is your one-stop shop when disaster strikes. Not only do they have the equipment and expertise to clean up damage from fire, water, or mold, but they also offer a variety of construction services, ranging from drywall patching and document drying, all the way to complete structure rebuilds. There's just one call you need to make to bring your home or business back as good as new and as soon as possible. So if you're in need of cleanup from fire, water, or any unpleasant event, ServPro is always ready to help. Call ServPro and the official downtown Nashville operators at 800-SERVPRO to see how we can help you get back to like it never even happened. The number is 800-SERVPRO. ServPro, cleaning, restoration, construction. Franchises are independently owned and operated.
I was saying it during the break to Moan. It's a wrap, man. Like, Sunday she walked. Monday she walked a little bit. It's like, all right, still she's going to ease into it. No. Yesterday she's doing laps. She face planted once she tripped over this water mat. God. She face plants, doesn't cry. Clara Grace, not even 15 months old. Then she picks herself back up in the middle of the floor, which she was able to do a few times.
Yeah.
And she just takes off. She walked like crazy yesterday, like all day. Like she walks. And then last night, I was able to put her down in a room upstairs. And she was still sleeping this morning when I left, like 8.5 hours, because she was probably exhausted from all the walking. But it's over. Like it's very over. And Jeff told me, I mentioned this yesterday when Kayla and Double J were in. Jeff Schwartz said, look, my daughter just turned 6 and it might as well be 16. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, you think your daughter's going to be the different one? You think, and my daughter's never going to be like that.
Not my baby.
My daughter is 6. My son is 8. And my daughter dresses up for my son's tall friends at 6.
Hold up. Really?
Apparently she went to Jeff and was like, Jeff, I don't know his son's name. I like blah, blah, blah's tall friends. She's 6. What are we doing here?
Nothing. Just being a parent and just hate that this is happening, Jay.
He goes, it's coming for you.
Yeah, it is.
I was just like, nah,
Yeah,
not
it
CG.
is. I've heard of both of my boys having little girlfriends and stuff. And I'm like, and the thing is, as parents, you kind of forget that at those same ages, you were doing the same stuff.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? But like, even for me, like my oldest is 13 and my youngest is 10. I know I had a girlfriend at like 7. You know what I'm saying? I know I had one at like 10. It was a bunch of those things, but you see it as adults like, man, I got some young kids. Like I wasn't doing that. And then you think for a second, like, yeah, I was definitely doing some of that. Maybe more. And that's why I always tell people, your kids are just, they're worse than you think. The fact that she's 6 and she's dressing up for the tall friend. Hey, she got a type already, Jay, but I mean, it is what it is, man. Just I would tell you don't fight it, but I know you're going to fight it regardless.
I'm a father. I have to.
I know. Just guide.
People were noticing Sunday at the 4th of July thing. They were like, look at Daddy. That's what Daddy always does. He's gonna protect his daughter at all costs. Cause like she was walking near the pool. And so I got between her and the pool in case she were to fall.
Yeah.
And I almost fell in the pool because I wasn't paying attention. Somebody's like, you're about to fall in the pool. And they're like, that's what Dad does. They're going to protect her no matter what it does to you. And I'm just like, gosh, I'm going to have broken legs.
You trying to be Uncle Phil out here, man. God. Just protecting it from the Fresh Prince.
All of a sudden, I just started noticing stuff. I'm like, that could be dangerous. Stuff I'd never even paid attention to before. I'm like, you know what? This world is dangerous. You shouldn't leave the pack and play.
Ain't nothing you can do, Jay. It's gonna be a beautiful process, and I can't wait to hear it. I can't wait to see you just grow up. How she's not gonna want to take the holiday pictures that y'all take, like that dandelion patch. She don't even want to do that when she's 7. She was beat it, Dad. Hey, welcome to the show, dog. You're officially in now.
Definitely welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
The show has begun. John's in the borough. John, what's going on?
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Yeah, here in a few months, J-Mart, I'm going to be calling in to ask for baby-proofing ideas. Because I know that's going to happen, and I'm not looking forward to it.
Nobody ever is.
Look, we have not done anything yet, honestly. Like, we just trying to figure out the best way to do it. I don't want to drill holes into the non-forever home. Like, we got to do something because I'm not so sure she's not more mobile than me right now.
Exactly. I mean, ours is supposed to be our forever home, but also I know how life can go, but I just know that I'm going to forget something and be like, oh, that's really dangerous. Oh, man.
Yeah.
But side story aside, I got 2 shows that I want to see a podcast reunion of. First one is Saved by the Bell, because I grew up watching Saved by the Bell. We grew up with them essentially.
Yep.
From watching them in Good Morning Miss Bliss all the way up through the colleges, which I still love that show. That show gets panned a lot by the critics. And I loved that series.
It still holds up for what it used to, because you didn't watch it because it was, it was the most well-written thing ever. You watched it because it was comfort food and because you felt like you were in high school with them. You wanted to be around them. Like, that show still works to this day to me.
I never saw it. I got to catch up on that.
I love that show, man. So
Okay.
who would you have on that cast? Let's say you could have 3 people on the podcast.
You have to have Mark Paul Gosselaar.
Oh, I agree.
Have to, because he was the character. You can have or you can leave Mario Lopez.
Yeah.
I think he would provide valuable insight, but also I think he would provide just as much as everybody else.
Yeah.
I think Elizabeth Berkley would be fun on that. Because she went through such a strange character arc with coming into the show, leaving the show, coming back into the show, all of that stuff. And the same with Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
I agree with that.
Leaving the show, coming back on. Like, I'd love to get a deep dive into all of that stuff.
Well, we got one guy that's fairly local. I think he's still in Bowling Green. One guy I think that would really be interesting because he would be able to present a different insight, John, is Dennis Haskins.
Yes.
But having Belding on there would be, I think, because he's just a really good dude. If you don't know, Dennis Haskins is just a really, really good dude who, he was never going to be particularly famous outside of that role, but just like Hillary Banks, nobody's ever going to forget Belding.
Right.
But Belding's the adult that was with that cast that could speak to how they were as kids.
Yeah, I think that would also be a great addition to the podcast. The second one that I would want to see is one that you might remember, and probably Ramon doesn't, is Spin City.
Oh, yeah, with Michael
never
J.
heard of
Fox and Michael Boatman.
One of
And,
my favorite shows growing up.
great show.
And I would love to have Michael J. Fox on there, especially talking about the later seasons when he talks about, his Parkinson's diagnosis and how they came up with how they wrote him out of the show and brought on Charlie Sheen. I'd love to have Charlie Sheen on there because, wow, that would make for a good podcast. And then the character that played the writer, James, I don't remember his name, but he always played the drug addict in the Scrubs show. Right. I can't remember the actor's name, but he was always the staff writer. I would love to have him on there just because I thought he was such an off-the-wall character, especially for that whole group of hardened New York City guys, that I thought he would be perfect for them.
That's good stuff, John. That's really well thought out.
Very solid.
Bill Lawrence shows would be perfect for this just in general. Scrubs would be really good. Some people really enjoy a Cougar Town podcast or something like that. But, Spin City's interesting. If you pick one that wasn't a super popular show but had a diehard fan base, that would be a podcast that would be excellent for a certain group of people and might actually – look, Arrested Development did nothing on TV when it was on. It became famous because of its DVDs, and people picked it up. No, another show that didn't work on TV, Family Guy. Family Guy released its first 3 seasons on DVD after really nobody was paying attention to it, and it exploded. There have been series that have done that in the past, and if they're good enough, you can do something like that. One that I would throw out to you in that same vein would be Chuck. I interviewed Zach Levi last year, but Zach and Yvonne Strahovski and Adam Baldwin and that cast, Vic Sahai, there were just a ton of great characters on the show. It was so much fun to watch. Ryan McPartland. That show would probably work big time as well. Andy and Donaldson. Andy, what's up?
What's up, Andy?
Hey, good morning, fellas. Haskins is the man. Just a real quick hit before I get to what I was going to say. I don't like getting up in the morning. I never have. But y'all, I just want to thank you so much for the vibe that you guys start in the morning. It's informative. It's fun. It's chill. It is the way to wake up when you got to do something you don't want to do. So I really appreciate you guys for that because I know it takes effort to do.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it.
My 81-year-old currently mother's still favorite thing to do every Christmas to me is to give me a nickname that she gave me when I was in 3rd grade, which was Lil Pimp, and I ain't bragging about it. I remember we would sit under the table, Miss Carlin Clark and I holding hands in 3rd grade. And that was a big deal. Yeah, she'd go, okay, you want to go hold hands sitting under the table? And I could just remember, oh, my God. Oh, that feeling that you get. So that was my first date, was with Carlin Clark in 3rd grade. Her mom took us to go see the first Star Trek movie.
Oh, all right.
Have either of y'all seen that one?
It's not the best one.
We're talking 75-ish.
Yeah. I mean, Wrath of Khan was better, but yeah.
Oh, so much more. It was so boring and so long. And she took us to an 8 o'clock showing out in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I guarantee you, boys, I was asleep by 8:22.
Yeah. Andy,
I woke up. We woke up to her mom carrying us both out of the theater. Because she was there with us.
Andy, that's crazy. In the 80s, well, you said 75, you went on a date with your 3rd grade girlfriend.
Carlin's kind of a cool name.
And her mom. And her mom.
Oh, of course.
Oh, okay.
I doubled up, brother. I doubled up, brother.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. You little pimp.
Andy.
You. And let me ask you this. Now that maybe I'm not sure if you're a parent or not. This is a question that I had one time. Have you allowed either your son or daughter or niece or nephew to go on a young date also? Since you did.
I did.
You did?
I did. And can I share a blessing with y'all real quick? Because I know it's a quick, busy morning for y'all. I have 2 autistic children. One is 22 and one is 19. They're on opposite ends of the spectrum. We were told the 22-year-old, when he was in 6th grade, he'd probably make it to high school, but he probably wouldn't graduate.
Mm-hmm.
That boy graduated on time with a 3.8.
Wow.
He went on to Vol State 2 years later, graduated with a 3.9. Got a full ride to MTSU, graduated with a 4.0, and is right now on a flight back from Kosovo by himself because he's getting his master's in history at 22, and he's halfway done with it.
Oh, that's unreal,
That's
man.
a blessing.
Hey,
Never let anybody ever tell you what your kids cannot do because they can do anything.
Amen to that, Andy. You set the vibe, brother.
Andy's in first class cousin status now, man.
That's beautiful.
God, Andy.
What mom is calling their child Lil Pimp in the 70s?
Hey, it's the 70s, Jay. Come on, man. Come on. There's a bunch of population going on in the 70s.
I'm not saying it wasn't, but it didn't seem like that was something that was used like in just regular parlance.
He got a cool grandmama. That's all.
I'm not suggesting
No,
otherwise.
I know you're not, but
It's just that's a unique.
Hey.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah. Big pimpin', baby. You know what?
Spin the G's.
And Andy, Pimp C would be so proud of you, Andy.
3rd grade. Me, I got somebody stealing my gift to give to the girl I wanted them to give it to and taking my girlfriend. You're out here, Lil Pimp.
And not just that, holding hands underneath the table. I ain't gonna lie to you, Andy. I was like, okay now.
Cousin Bam. What's up, Bam?
Up, Bam?
Yo, what's good, fam? Everybody good?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, now we are.
That's all that matters. Ramon, you can keep running. It's okay, man. I still love you either which way it goes, man. Yo, so look, I wanted to tap on this, the Saved by the Bell joint. I think that Slater holds just as much weight. I'm not going to say he holds just as much weight as Zach, but if he's not 1A, he's got to be 1B.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I agree with you, Bam. Although the difference between him and Zach is that Zach was part of the middle school years. It was about Ms. Bliss. It was about Haley Mills, but really it was the Zach Morris character and the Screech character that carried throughout the whole series.
Yeah, so I just think when they went to high school, Slater's role became just as prevalent as Zach. Almost, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because if it wasn't one, then it was so. It wouldn't bother me to have him on there. It would be cool to have Elisa's input.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the only three. Like Belding, I could give you Belding. I could even almost kind of stand and listen to the Max as well too.
Ed Alonso, yeah.
Yeah, but my initial show that I was actually calling to say, I think Family Matters would be a good one.
That would be excellent.
Oh my God!
To kind of dive into.
Yeah.
I
don't know if you can get Darius McCrary right now.
Nah, you ain't getting him unless we get
you're
super.
not getting him. But I think Family Matters. And even though now if we go in classics, I would love to see somebody do even. I think Lamont's the only one that's alive, but I would love to hear Sanford and Son.
Yeah.
I would love to hear that. Man.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, the problem is that so many of them have passed on.
I know, man.
But I mean, that's the same thing with MASH. Most of the people have passed on.
Yeah.
It's like eventually, that's just kind of what you get.
I've read threads on them and stuff like that, like how Red Fox, man, was at the time the hottest guy, like in Vegas, like stand-up comedy and everything else. But the thing was, Fred would be gone because he realized he was making more money in Vegas than he actually was on the show. So because there's a lot of times, if you look at that show, Fred wasn't there. Yeah. Like they had to like corner Fred into or Red Fox. They had to corner him into the set and be like, "Hey, you got to record. This is why, you know, da 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 da." But his stardom was his comedy, and he was so independent. It was pretty wild, man. I've read up on that show a good bit.
Cornbread, we'll get to him after the break. He says he's going to tell us about his daughter's first date. These people are just going to frighten me to death today. That's what's happening. Ben Savage, I was reading this, by the way. Ben Savage, after Boy Meets World, Savage had several other roles in popular kid shows, including Phil of the Future. He started Making It Legal in Lake Effects, among other shows. Now he's doing a Hallmark holiday film, and Girl in the Shed, the kidnapping of Abby Hernandez, the Lifetime movie, came out in February 2022. Let me just suggest something. I know he's done some roles in Homeland here and there and stuff like that, right? Like he's done some series. Ain't none of that have more of a future in it than Pod Meets World does.
No, baby.
I mean, seriously, like all of what I just mentioned.
Yeah.
I bet you there's not 10 people in our audience right now that have seen multiple things Ben Savage has done outside of Boy Meets World or Girl Meets World. Most of them probably haven't seen Girl Meets World. We'll take Cornbread on the other side. 615-737-1045 here. Jay Martin, Ramon, 1045 The Zone. Hey, if you are noticing doors and windows sticking or cracks in your bricks or bowing basement wall, maybe the chimney's leaning, you got all sorts of things like that going on, or you have one of those things happening, but you're really not sure what's happening. Like, what's exactly going on here? Those are signs of possible foundation issues with your home. And when you have issues like that, you need somebody that you can trust to tell you what's happening, that can look at it with an expert eye, that can give you an honest assessment. And by honest, I mean not finding a reason, but actually looking for what needs to be done. And that's what United Structural Systems does. They come out, they give you a detail-free estimate. They take the stress out of home repair. There's no down payment. Financing is available. You got a lifetime warranty. At USS, you've got transferable warranties. Repairs are guaranteed for the lifetime of your home. They are problem solvers. They come out, they customize solutions for you. They're locally owned, so they have time for that. They come out, they tell you exactly what's going on. You don't pay a dime until that work's done. Again, no down payments. Over 23,000 satisfied customers in counting can tell you this is a good call to place. It's 615-227-2275. These aren't problems you can just solve on your own. There's a lot of DIY projects out there. You can repair a step or something like that. But foundation issues, you got to have the equipment, the know-how, all of that. And that's USS in a nutshell. 615-227-2275. Great people over there. 227-2275 or online at USSTN.com. United Structural Systems. Man, it's hot.
Yeah, it is.
Outside.
Those X's
How
out.
hot is it, Moan?
Hell.
Tell me how hot do you think it is?
It's hell hot.
Man, it is so hot. Freaks don't come out at night.
No, because Lil Pimp need his money. You hear me? You better stop.
I'm just picturing a kid that age with a crushed velvet pimp hat on.
Oh.
Today's one of those days it's so hot you go to Home Depot and stand in front of the big giant fans.
And just hold on for dear life, not use up your own AC at home. Sit in restaurants or Starbucks just because. I'd rather use up all your AC. Come on,
Window Nation. Cornbread, line 2. Cornbread, what's going on?
Good morning, gentlemen. First off, it is so hot the crackheads are putting the copper back in the AC units.
It's a good one.
Okay, all right, Cornbread.
That's a good one.
Coming in hot.
My daughter on her first date, she's 16 years old, because I wouldn't let her date till she was 16 because her daddy was in high school and was into sports and girls and everything else. And I know what I felt like. I know that don't change in genetics. So, anywho, this young man comes to pick her up at the house, and he don't come in. He just waits a second, hits the horn. And I was like, oh, heck no, you sit your butt down on that couch. And he texts us, says, come on, we're going to be late. And she was like, well, my dad says you got to come in and meet him first. And he texted her back, I don't want to meet that MFer.
Oh!
Whoa.
And I'm like, I grabbed her phone up and said, if you want to go anywhere with my daughter, you're going to come in this house and meet this MFer. And so he comes in and sits down. I asked him, I said, and starts rubbing my daughter's knee right in front of me. And I'm like, oh, this ain't going to end good for this young man. But he don't sit there, and I asked him, what y'all going to do? He said, well, we're going to go eat at McDonald's, and then we're going to go to the movie. I said, movie start at 7? He goes, yeah. I said, it means movie over by 8:30. I said, my daughter will be home at 9 o'clock. He goes, what do you mean 9 o'clock? I tossed a 12-gauge shell to him. He caught it, looked at it. I said, they come a lot faster after 9 p.m. My daughter was home at 8:45.
Yes, sir.
So just, J-Mart, my advice, if you got beautiful young daughters, go ahead and buy the sniper rifle right now. Get the scope set in. Make sure you can take a mile-long shot. Got good ammunition, because if you take that motor out at a mile away, you ain't got to worry about your daughter going nowhere, and you sleep good at night.
See, I'm glad you cleared that up because you said take the motor out. I'm just glad we cleared that up, Cornbread. But
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I'm not saying kill nobody.
Yeah.
I'm just saying give him some vehicle difficulties.
I got to give it to you, too, Cornbread. The fact that he called you MF and you still let your daughter leave the house with him, you got a whole lot of patience, okay? Because I'd have cut it off right there. My baby girl would have just been mad.
What? That's just a word that you don't use.
Yeah, no, because, see, you better than me. I'm going to be real with you. I'm surprised you let him roll, and I congratulate you for being that calm about it. I just got to give you that real quick.
Well, I knew right away with his character, and the lack of upbringing that his parents gave him at that age by then, that this wasn't going to last long.
Mm-hmm.
Now my daughter's 24.
Okay.
She after they broke up, which didn't last long after that, I was right on that.
Yeah.
She met her future husband in high school. They dated all through college, all afterwards, and just got married this past spring. And I couldn't have asked for a better man for my daughter.
There it is.
Well, that's awesome.
First off,
you don't use that term when somebody calls themselves cornbread.
Yeah.
Like, they're coming from somewhere. It's just like, I need to watch myself around this one.
Yeah.
I need to be real careful about that.
You know the sound that was made in that house when that boy was talking back to him like that?
Yeah. Shit, he should have called me. I'd have came over there with him too, man.
If I'd heard the term, I'd just be like, yeah, you know what? I don't think you can take her anywhere.
I'm going to be real. I can't wait for one of y'all to call me with a daughter or something that's going on. I don't care if it's a girl breaking one of my nephew's heart. I'm showing up for that too, okay? I'm showing up for all things that involve me showing out in front of some kids, okay? To prove a point that we love our kids, okay? Nephews, extended nieces and nephews. CG, listen to me, Jay. We'll lay the whole spread out, okay? I bring the whole cutler, okay? The whole knives, all right? All of them. I go buy a new one just to prove a point. Fear, Jay, is what we're dealing with.
No question.
Okay? Fear is what, Shafe, you coming with us?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes, see? That's all we need. It takes a village, Jay. Now we're gonna be like cornbread out here. We can take the motor. I'll put some sugar in this tank. Whatever we got to do. You can at least fix that. You can flush the lines out. He can get his car back, but he won't go nowhere.
Oh boy,
MF.
Can
you the audacity?
Yeah, that's.
And I know
what was the age of that situation?
He said 16. 16. That's a fair age to date. Okay, fair, super fair. You look at you. You just over there bothered right now.
All right, is the age for like your first like date? Not like serious date, but like, hey, you're growing up and getting older. Is that like 14? Like the
14.
chaperone date?
Yeah, 14 is about when.
All right. That's what I thought.
Man, my dog, I'm a kill Ron Slade, by the way, too. Hey, he got my boy out here just living wild, all right?
Was he out till 3:30 yesterday morning like Ron was?
Did he drink 9 bottles of tequila in the last 4 days like Ron claimed he did?
No, he didn't do all that. Hey, he got my child out here riding around on state streets, man. He's driving in Hendersonville out here, man. And he pulls up. You see my driveway. He pulls up in the driveway, hops out of the car like he's been driving for a long time. I'm like, wait a minute.
You might not want to admit this on the radio here, Mo.
Hey, no, because he was with a supervised adult, I think. Even though
even though your kid is tall enough to be 16, your kid ain't 16.
I know, but Ron has been allowing my son to drive, Jason, at 13. And I don't know how to feel about this. He come home, just hops out of the car, races into the house to tell us about his driving excursion. I'm thinking he was on
Race isn't the word that I would be using.
Racing. We're not that, okay? I do not condone it whatever. I'm not a fan of that. Yeah, but he raced in the house. Listen at you like, oh, yeah. What else?
I'm just saying, I wouldn't use that when you're talking about cars. Like, we don't need to talk about your kid going 120 miles an hour out here.
He didn't go
in a Hellcat.
But I'll just say this. As far as the extension of taking care of each other's kids, I'm appreciative of that. But, boy, I was scared as Hades that happened. It was on 4th of July, too. He let him drive over 2 miles home.
615-737-1045.
I know.
Brian Rice will join us in 25 minutes.
Is he spicy, Shafe?
When's he not spicy?
All right, there we go.
He's definitely spicy. I don't even know what's on his mind today.
We didn't even discuss it. I was like, hey, you on tomorrow? He went, yep. I went, all right.
Even the chat saying he got to learn sometime about my kid driving.
Be careful, though. Do you want to learn from Ron?
What better person to learn from, Jay?
Getting a call over here. Charles on line 1. Jay Martin, Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
It's 7 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. The Braves continue their winning ways. Defeated the Cardinals yesterday 7-1. Austin Riley, 3 RBI. Also homered in the game.
Lifted to right and deep, retreating Capel at the wall, and it's gone into the top house. 2-run home run to the opposite field for Riley. And it's 3-1 Braves.
Atlanta now 2.5 games behind the Mets for first place in the NL East. Demaryius Thomas had CTE, according to doctors from Boston University who had been studying the former NFL star's brain. Thomas was found dead in his Georgia home this past December 9th, just 15 days before his 34th birthday. For our foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Hour 2, J Mart and Ramon. All Four Seasons Garage Doors making it possible. All4seasonsgarages.com. Go there to learn more. It is so hot. Cows are out here giving evaporated milk.
That's solid. That was good.
Chickens are laying omelets.
That's solid too, Jay. I mess with that.
Thank you.
With that.
Thank you, because you were definitely who I was hoping to make laugh.
Wow.
You know, it don't take a whole lot for me to laugh, man. I always enjoy a good time.
I mean, it really does.
It's so hot, you should consider calling your ex so you can get some shade today.
Oh,
That's pretty good.
That's pretty rough.
I like that.
Jay.
615-737-1045. So 2 college football reports are out there.
Uh-oh.
One is that the Big Ten is imminently looking to get 3 more teams, making some decisions pretty quickly, right? Notre Dame's the next big piece. And part of that would be this. NBC is reportedly talking with Fox about a supercharged deal between the networks with a Big Ten primetime game of the week where NBC's rights would extend to the Big Ten also. At which point they would want Notre Dame to be part of that because they're Notre Dame's network already. That would be the fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where we are here.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other report overnight
Pac-12
is the Pac-12 and the ACC potentially coming together, and the Pac-12 potentially coming together with the Big 12, or the Big 12 imminently trying to add 6 schools. So all of this is happening real daggone quick. And I think the Athletic actually, this is a really smart way to look at this. College football teams are now television shows. Conferences are now television networks or streaming services.
Yep.
Netflix needed The Office. When it lost The Office, boy, their revenues right now are struggling. They've got Stranger Things, which is the most popular thing they've ever had.
That's only so quick, though.
But once it's over and once you've streamed it, what's left? A bunch of content that isn't moving the needle for the most part outside of a series here and there.
I'm on Better Call Saul right now,
Right.
but that's...
Right.
Yeah.
So all of these things, if you look at them as content bundles, and if you think all of a sudden, all right, so shows that you absolutely love. Mon, I know a couple that you like.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Hulu exclusively, let's say Hulu's a Big Ten. Hulu just snaked Snowfall from FX. It's now exclusive there. Now they already have an FX deal, but we're looking at it, it from a different perspective now. So Snowfall is only available now on FX. They're only going to play in the FX conference now. Or they're only going to play in the Hulu conference, I should say now.
Yeah.
And I don't know, back in the day or whatever like that, all of a sudden, Martin's actually going to move to Apple TV.
Come on, Jay. No,
Move
Paramount.
to a conference.
Make it
Move to
harder
Paramount.
for-
All right, move to Paramount.
Yeah, no.
All of a sudden, that can be the thing that moves it over. These shows don't end. These are teams, franchises, or, you know, obviously universities that aren't going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's bundles of teams, and that's how the Athletic kind of looks at it. That if you look at it and think about these universities not as just universities, but as commodities for television, because that's generally what this is all about, is TV contracts. The ACC's rights deal is terrible for the universities involved. The Pac-12 rights deal is not very good. Big 12 is about to set another one, and before they go and get that money, whatever it's going to be, they want to grab, and they're looking at, Arizona State, a couple of these other Pac-12 conference teams to see what's going to happen there. So all of this is happening simultaneously, and it's happening really, really fast. And college football just isn't going to be the same. Everything is about to change.
I almost feel like it's going to water itself down. I like a lot of the shows that people mention, Jay, I don't have any interest on going to those apps or going to those networks or going to somewhere other than cable to watch them. And maybe I'm just an old head on my approach to watching shows, but I knew if I had cable, I can go to HBO and just watch The Wire. I knew I could just go watch Oz. I knew I could go watch, Real Sports with Brian Gumble if I wanted to. I know that if there's a big-time game on, then I can just go to ESPN or ABC at night. Like, why are you going to send me? Like, I'll be honest with you. The games that I watch as far as NCAA basketball tournament are usually the ones that are on, let's say, ESPN or the local channels. I say local channels, ABC, CBS, whoever has in it. It's rare. I'll be real with you that I go to True TV to watch the tournament games. It just is, because I'm like, it doesn't register to me to go look for those channels, number one. Like, you're making me be a team-centric sports fan by the way you're bundling this up. And I don't necessarily like it because you're trying to pay a certain amount of money for these rights. I am not a fan of this, and I understand what it's about. And I'm looking at the logistics of it all. You mean to tell me the ACC and the Pac-12 are just a group of coasts? Is that what we're calling them? The Coastal Conference is what they are at this point right now. And then, of course, who is the most interesting teams that are still going to be in this group?
I mean, right now, Notre Dame's by far the one that you look at and say they're the biggest piece. Big Ten's the only thing that makes sense, especially considering their biggest natural rival is USC. And USC just don't join the Big Ten. They also have games that they've played annually with Purdue, with Michigan, with Michigan State. So they already have been playing a lot of Big Ten teams. And you add the Pac-12 team that they already play. They usually play Stanford. I don't think Stanford's going to be part of this. But if you extend past Notre Dame, because Notre Dame's the obvious one, you start to look at Clemson because of football, obviously. North Carolina, just because North Carolina's
the buzzing.
Right. Miami.
Yep.
Florida State. Most likely would be pretty high up on that list.
Where are you at with Pitt on Boston College?
I don't think they matter at all.
They don't matter. Yep, that's where I'm at.
But, I mean, one thing, and I heard this over the weekend, and I mentioned this yesterday, Moan. Why would the Big Ten have wanted Rutgers and Maryland?
Why would the Big Ten want Rutgers?
Because they already have them. But why would they have gone after them?
Rutgers is what, Jersey?
It's New York television market.
New York. But
what is Maryland?
Maryland's Baltimore?
It's the Washington, D.C. television market.
DMV,
so here's the thing. Nobody watches Rutgers football, right? Nobody. Not even in New York they don't. But you're still in that market. And that matters.
Really?
Yes.
For marketing of other teams?
It matters
maybe?
big time.
Marketing of other teams, maybe?
It just gets you a foothold into that television market, which can then drive up
the revenue,
your television revenue.
Marketing.
Each individual Big Ten school,
Rutgers?
The reported number is over $100 million per university as part of the new rights deal with the Big Ten. So they've got L.A., New York, D.C., they've got their usual footprint, obviously.
Chicago,
what was it you said? Chicago.
Yeah, especially if you add Notre Dame to that.
The only thing they don't have right now is a Texas team, and that's because Rice isn't good enough, because the SEC grabbed both ones that are relevant with A&M and Texas out of that state. Texas Tech's not big enough.
Baylor.
No.
A huge university, though.
They're a big university.
Big alumni.
But there's a couple problems. One is, and the Pac-12 already said this, Pac-12 didn't want BYU because they didn't want a religious institution.
Pac-12 said this?
Baylor's a giant Baptist university.
recent as far as SEC goes, recent national championship in basketball, because it's one thing that the commissioner kind of said that they got to get to that point. Big time enrollment, facilities are all there. They have rehabbed the football program. I'd almost elect to have Baylor in the SEC as opposed to anywhere else.
Well, I mean, I think it would make more sense.
Heisman Trophy winner.
It would make more sense, but here's the thing: I don't think that stuff matters.
It don't matter. It's money.
It is about money and markets and things of that nature. I asked Andy Staples yesterday.
Well, and Andy also talked about it in his column in The Athletic, that it's not just markets, it's also brands.
Yeah, brand, and that's why Oregon's relevant.
To Oregon, Pac-12?
No, Oregon's a big time piece.
Yes, they are.
Because of Nike.
Yes, sir.
And because they've held up the conference, is what Jeff told us on Friday. But when they committed to athletics, they've just kind of been that one university that's created a brand. Oregon's become a cool thing. It's one of the things you pay attention to in the Pac-12. There's two things you pay attention to in the Pac-12: Oregon and USC.
Yep. Period.
And that's pretty much it. Outside of that, you care about UCLA and Arizona basketball a little bit. Basketball's a much smaller piece of this. This is all about the football side of it at this point.
So these negotiations are based on football.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
and that's God.
Basketball's not completely irrelevant.
No, it's not.
But football is the point of all of this.
Yes, for sure. So what's the benefit for these Pac-12 schools to kind of merge with the ACC? I think their biggest detriment as far as a Pac-12 is their time. Business is done on East Coast time.
No, that's very true.
You know what I'm saying? So, that's one big adjustment that I don't know if UCLA and USC is kind of thrown into the equation. Are you going to stay on the East Coast if you got back-to-back road games? Because where are the road games at, Jay? East Coast.
Well, what have we found out now? You probably – all right, so let's say you're a non-revenue sport now.
Right, okay. Like volleyball.
Yeah, just any non-revenue sport. This is all about revenue, so you're not really being factored into the equation. So you're going to probably fly to the East Coast from USC.
Yep.
And you're going to run through all those schools over a 2 to 3 week span, and you're going to be gone that whole time. Yeah. And you're going to go to class via Zoom. Well, because the pandemic proved you don't actually have to be in person to attend class. So you can do your work on the road. And now kids in college are experiencing that. They're used to being on the road and doing work as athletes. Because that has been proven out. It makes the transportation issue less of an issue than it would have been 5 years ago even.
Well, but here's another possibility is that when all of this kind of comes to an end to a certain point, or at least the next phase of it, I think what you're eventually going to see is football's just going to be broken away.
Yeah.
Football will be separate, but then those quote-unquote non-revenue sports will have basically their own little conferences that they'll be in that'll keep it more local and regional.
I don't know.
So where's the NCAA in this as far as seating, as far as conference, as far
here's
as
the other thing. They're not going to want to pay for that transportation.
The NCAA is going to be out of it, but I don't think that – I still think if you're in a conference, you're in a conference in all sports.
Well, I think that's going to change.
I don't, but I still think that for one reason, I know we talked about football mattering, but the Olympic sports matter to the Big Ten quite a bit too.
Yeah, they do.
And Pac-12 teams that they're getting, Pac-12 have over 200 individual championships over the last however many years or whatever because they're huge in those sports. Those things matter. I don't think they're just going to – I don't think all of a sudden football is going to look different. There's going to be a football conference and then everything else is going to be different. Well, I think they're going to factor all of it and figure it out.
Why is it even the conversation, though, of Pac-12 teams joining Midwest and East Coast teams?
Well, it's location doesn't matter anymore. Big Ten's all about getting a foothold everywhere. And the SEC will be the next one to do the same exact thing.
This is a very interesting – I guess situation. Again, to me, again, I'm not a fan of going from app to app. And I love the old DirecTV, Xfinity, where I can just flip through and go to different channels. If they start making this exclusive to the web only, that's when I'm starting to get turned off from the sport. And I won't be turned off from it because our local games will probably still play. But those matchups and just, I don't like how they're going about it. We'll do all of that, Jay, to come right back to cable at some point.
Potentially. I think college football is set to become the Premier League on its own, where individual institutions within that are the ones with the power. And the NCAA is going to become the haven for the non-revenue sports. And basketball will stick with it because the NCAA tournament is still a huge property. and it's not football. Football has grown to a level where the NCAA is a mall cop that's not able to control it at all. And so they just need to let it be independent because it's such a different animal than everything else.
The NCAA is a rest haven for broken schools, is what you're saying.
Brian Rice will join us, and we'll keep right into this topic when we come back. It's Jay Martin, Ramon 104.5 The Zone. Hey, so guess what? It's hot. Very, very hot. And if your HVAC is not doing what it needs to be doing, then that is a massive problem. If it's prone to breakdowns, it's not broken down now, but you can kind of hear it wheezing. You need to take it to the doctor. And the doctor is Lee Company. Summertime in Tennessee, not when you want your HVAC system to quit on you. We're under heat advisory. I don't think it ends until Friday at midnight or something like that. Just stupid numbers. Heat index like 110 today. Outside you shouldn't be, but if your inside feels like you're outside, that's no good at all. So Lee Company is making buying a new system easy. Nearly 80 years of HVAC experience. Their pros are going to help choose the system that's right for you. They did it for us last year. Even our upstairs is really holding on and doing a great job. We love what they've done for us, as always. Right now, they're offering $1,250 off a brand new system or special financing for up to 60 months. That's 5 years to help you save money, offering $1,250 off. Whatever deal is better for you. Call Lee Company today. Learn all about their current financing and service special offers at 615-567-1000. That's 567-1000, or you can visit them online at leecompany.com/promotions. Welcome back, Jay Martin and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. All Four Seasons Garage Doors making it possible. It is hot, folks. It is so hot. Optimus Prime transformed into an air conditioner.
B. Rice will like that one right there, I feel like, man.
I feel like that probably landed pretty hard with him.
Solid, Jack.
I bet this is happening right now in the producer's booth. It's so hot, people are farting to get a breeze.
That's not a room I want to go in.
That's why we don't go in that booth.
Okay.
That's why he's separate from us.
That's your own
Can
domain.
confirm.
Can confirm.
There are massive crop circles all the time. And
We do not care.
And they are being dusted.
Yeah.
To the Marks Bank Real Estate Hotline, Brian Rice, WNML Sports Animal. What's going on, B. Rice?
B. Rice.
Hey, I got a real life one. It's so hot. There's an ant that was on the hood of my car this morning. I had to drive out to about 35 minutes to Clinton for a remote. This ant held on to the hood of my car the entire 35 minutes. Some of it on an interstate type highway, most of it at 50 miles an hour plus, and now he's crawling along like nothing happened. So do I send him off to the grassy knoll here in Clinton, or do I see if he stays on my car for the return trip to Knoxville?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you got to let it play out.
Yes.
I think you got to let him make his decision and see just how much of a G that ant really is.
Yeah.
I'm also curious, is it so hot that Ramon Foster is actually going to work more than one day this week?
Yeah.
Hey, B, come on, dog. What are we doing?
There's air conditioning in the studio. There's air conditioning.
We've had great conversations like in the past. We communicate on social media, and here you go, just sniping away, B.
Man,
Rice.
it is so hot right now. You can't even make a chili dog.
We just call it B. We call it B. Rice.
It's so hot. We're glad. Ramon's really glad he's not going to training camp here in 2.5 weeks.
Dude, anybody in training camp right now.
Right about that.
Glad that's not a thing that's happening. So, B. Rice, college football and college sports in general. You wake up every day, there's something new. Now there's potential Big 12 wanting to add 6 teams really fast. There's a Pac-12 having a conversation with the ACC about forming some kind of an alignment. There's the Big 10 looking hard, obviously, at Notre Dame and having to make a decision quickly on Oregon and Washington. The SEC is just kind of sitting back, but you know that they have something planned as well. How bonkers is this from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, first reaction, old man in me hates it because regionalization is what made college football special. I think, all of this. I saw a post from a West Virginia fan earlier this week, or I guess it was late last week, that talked about, they didn't have a choice because their conference blew up, but they went to the Big 12, and now they have no rivals. Their program has no juice because they don't play any games that their fans look forward to every year. I mean, yeah, it's cool that Oklahoma comes out there. It's cool that, you get to play Oklahoma State and Texas and schools like that, but they want to play Pittsburgh and Virginia Tech and Miami, and they don't do that anymore. And so for a lot of West Virginia fans, sports don't mean nearly as much as they used to, because the thing that differentiates college sports from everything else is rivalries. Mm-hmm. And when you take those rivalries away, it means less to people. It means less to people that watch on TV, that give you money, that come to your stadium. So college football has got to be careful, because NASCAR did this. NASCAR went away from tracks that were well supported because, the North Carolina and Virginia markets are too saturated. Okay, that's great, but those tracks were selling out, so you could go to Kansas and you could go to California, and all that was in theory great for the growth of the sport, but it killed off what made it special. And college football has got to be very careful about that here in the next little bit.
Yeah, to that point about the rivalries, like the biggest rivalries amongst the biggest brand schools, for the most part, are going to be safe, right? If Notre Dame goes to the Big Ten, Notre Dame, USC are still going to play. Even if Notre Dame stays independent, I imagine that one sticks around because that one's big enough and the brands are big enough. But to that point, the West Virginias of the world, the ones that are maybe a step below, they're the ones whose rivalries are probably in the most trouble because you can't please everybody. The more the more convoluted the scheduling process has to become, the closer we get to AFC, NFC, or AFL, NFL, however this thing is going to shake out, there are going to be casualties, and they're going to be casualties of tradition.
Yeah, Washington State. Okay, the reports are that, Washington's an expansion target, and Oregon is. And, okay, so what happens to Oregon State? Does that still get played? If you're playing in a conference that plays 12 games and 10 or 11 of them are in conference, are you going to play Oregon State for your 12th game? I don't know that the answer is yes. You asked about the SEC, and I never answered your question, and I'm sorry about that. I think the SEC is sitting back to see how stable the ACC really is, because I don't think it makes any sense for the SEC to take any teams that aren't currently in a conference not named the ACC. So is the ACC stable? Could the ACC land Notre Dame? Could the ACC land a couple other schools where they would clearly be the third best conference, but they would still be a conference? I think that's the question. I don't think there's a lot of schools in the SEC that are interested in taking Clemson and Florida State and Miami and insert fourth school here, but I think they would do it begrudgingly. I think there are a lot of schools in the SEC that would be interested in adding North Carolina State, or North Carolina Duke. But do those schools give you the juice competitively that Florida State, Miami, or Clemson do? And will North Carolina go somewhere without NC State or without Duke or without both of them? If the answer is they won't go anywhere without both of them, then there's no path to the ACC. So I think the SEC has some plans, but I think they're contingent on some other things. Personally, selfishly, I'd like to see the SEC go get Arizona and Arizona State, because I love Tempe. Going out there every 3 years for softball is great. I would love to be required to go there every 3 years for softball. But that's just me personally. That doesn't really make any sense for the rest of the conference.
But them blending these conferences the way they do, B. Rice, kind of, takes a little bit of the luster away from me, because I knew when I watched a Pac-12 game what it was going to look like. I knew Big Ten was going to be big linebackers, big running game. I know Big 12 is going to be air the ball out, big-time offense. SEC is going to be a grudge match between opponent A versus opponent B. So let's say for USC going to the Big Ten, what is their transformation of offense, ball style, the type of recruits they go after going to look like now?
Well, I think that's a great question. How does the style of play change, and does style of play become a thing of the past, where this is just kind of what people do? Is it like the NFL, where one team runs the run and shoot, one team runs an up-tempo, one team is heavy on fullbacks and tight ends? Does it become a team-by-team thing instead of a conference-by-conference thing? I think that's a fascinating question. But I think, to your point, you lose some of the things that gave this sport an identity. You lose some of the things that make it special and unique. It's not just the rivalries. It's what you said. It's Big Ten football takes place at noon or 11 o'clock local time because it's going to be cold at night. It's that old school football. And Pac-12 is what keeps you up at night. We're going to lose that. And I would argue that in some ways that's okay.
Yeah.
But in other ways, you lose, again, what makes college football special. Do you lose it at the expense of the sport being healthier long-term because now there's more money invested in it? I don't know that the answer to that question is yes. We're also going to watch it. But is it going to be appointment must-see TV? I don't know that the answer to that question is yes beyond your own team. I think NASCAR is the best example for this.
Yeah.
But I think baseball is another one. Baseball has become such a hyper-local sport that nationally televised games get ridiculously low ratings at a time where local TV ratings are as high as they've ever been. They've made it hyper-local. It's good for most of the individual teams, especially when they're winning. When they're not winning, we've seen it that much harder for those teams to do business, and I wonder if college sports goes down that road eventually as well.
Well, it still feels like TBS made a mistake deciding we're not the Braves network anymore. I just feel like that was a national brand, and it was something that was unique, and I think it created – it wasn't even hyper-local. It actually made a team the exact opposite, as a matter of fact. It created Braves fans across the country, and TBS deciding they're going to do a national game of the week. I haven't looked at the numbers, but it's never felt like something I needed to watch at all until the postseason.
No, and I think Major League Baseball had a lot more to do with that than people think. I think Major League Baseball said, we don't like this arrangement because it's unfair. We're not going to let any other team do it. And TBS, if you want to keep carrying the Braves 162 games, you're going to have to pay the same that Fox pays for a national TV package. And I think that's where they made the choice there. But it did bring eyeballs to that network every night, and it did bring them in greater numbers than, they have. Now it's a Tuesday night game. It was Sunday for a while. It was the lowest rated package. So everybody makes these decisions in a boardroom, and I think we realize it because we cover it every day. But I don't think a lot of those executives realize how different things are on campuses around the country. A lot of it in flyover country, not in New York and California.
Yeah, this is going to be wild. So what does it do for recruiting? I know Bama has been a national recruiter. I know Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. You got a bunch of teams that recruit nationally when it comes down to it. With these divisions blending, or these teams from different regions of the United States blending, what does it do for them? Is it helpful, or is it more of a detriment, kind of inviting the beast into your backyard? Meaning Ohio State can go dip into California a little bit more. Michigan can go dip into California a little bit more. What does that say about that aspect of these alliances?
I think so many of these big programs were already recruiting nationally that there's not going to be as big of an impact on them as you think. Because, I mean, if you think about it, you played on a team that had a running back from California and a quarterback from Oregon.
Yeah.
It's happened to a certain extent for a long time. I do think it'll turn it up for those national programs like an Ohio State, like an Alabama, like a Georgia. But I also think when you look at the state that is most heavily recruited right now in the country, it's Georgia. I mean, you can argue still Texas, you can argue still California, but total number of 3, 4, and 5-star prospects, it's the state of Georgia. So schools in the ACC are not going to stop recruiting that state. Is it going to make it a little easier for Ohio State to come in? Maybe a USC, Texas, schools like that? Maybe. But I do think that a lot of these programs around the country are still going to focus on their most fertile recruiting territories, and most of the time that's going to be right within their own neighborhood. But for top prospects, if you're a top prospect from Georgia, you already have options to go everywhere, but I think it really opens it up to what gives me the best opportunity to go pro, and what are some markets that have some big NIL money. Because I think that's still going to be a big part of it. And that I almost see with NIL money, some of those schools recruiting becoming even more hyper-local, because you were able to build those relationships. You're able to have more available to you when you're at least adjacent to where you grew up. So I'm really going to be interested to see how that plays out, because common knowledge or common wisdom would say, it's going to make it easier to recruit more nationally. I do wonder if some of the programs that already have fertile recruiting territories don't benefit even more than they currently do.
Yeah, so this is the other side of this, and we talked about it yesterday. I asked Andy Staples about it. He said there's never been any talk about this. But if we are looking at this, Brian, from so much of it is television revenue and these rights deals, which is where the ACC is screwed right now because their universities know they're in a bad spot, and that deal is great for ESPN, and it runs through 2036 right now, and the money involved is so much lower. But do you get to a spot, if you're looking at it from purely a revenue and TV rating standpoint, where you look at existing members of these conferences and you say, yeah, you know what, we'd rather have Miami than Vanderbilt. We'd rather have this than Mississippi State. We went, in the Big Ten, there's some universities there, or are they all grandfathered in? I understand the tradition side, but if we're throwing a lot of that out the window, guys, I think Brian just dropped, so he'll potentially call us back in.
That's fair, though,
That's
Jay.
the other side of it, is just like, there are universities within every conference that do nothing for that conference when it gets down to the bottom line brass tacks of the money. Because what television market do you want more? How much is that going to play into the rights fees?
Right.
All of that kind of stuff is where we're looking at. I think we got B. Rice back. I don't know where you lost us there, B. Rice, but just the idea of we know they exist. There are teams in every conference that really don't do anything for the conference from a monetary perspective. And if we are moving into a universe where that is the only thing people are taking into consideration, are there any universities in these conferences that are looking at their situation and saying, boy, I hope we don't go down that pathway, because if we get to this deal where I'll swap you out to get you because you're a better brand and a better television market, then we really have lost college football.
Yeah, if I'm Vanderbilt and I'm
Right.
Mississippi State and I'm Rutgers and Indiana, I'm terrified, because I don't know that there's a mechanism in the Big Ten to remove a school for any reason. In the SEC, I know it's exceedingly difficult, but would you rather have North Carolina or would you rather have Vanderbilt? Would you rather have Miami or would you rather have Mississippi State? Why are the Vanderbilts and Indianas of the world automatically grandfathered in because they were in this conference 100 years ago?
Yeah.
That's a question that some people in these conference offices are going to be thinking about and talking about. Is it a right thing to do? Absolutely not.
Definitely not.
But if you're thinking about matchups and teams and all of that, then there is not an argument to be made that those programs are more valuable than a team that you could go get. There's just not. I'm sorry. Tennessee's been bad for years. Tennessee has brought a lot of value to the SEC over the years and has a 100,000-seat stadium. They're not in any danger. But historically, how many times has Mississippi State been good?
Mm-hmm.
They bring something to the conference in baseball. For a few years when Vic Schaefer was there, they brought something to the conference in women's basketball. But what do they bring in football?
Yeah.
And I'm not advocating this, because I think that would be one of the great tragedies of this whole deal is if conferences start to kick members out.
Right.
And I'm trying not to hit Vanderbilt on this because they get punched on all the time. So I'm going Mississippi State. Maybe I should just say Indiana and make it only a Big Ten thing.
Right.
But I guarantee there's a TV executive that is saying to Kevin Warren, we like Northwestern because they're in Chicago. Indiana gives you something in basketball. This isn't about basketball.
Yeah.
Why don't you go to Oklahoma State? Why don't you go see if you can poach Missouri from the SEC? You don't need Indiana.
Yeah.
You don't need Rutgers.
Well, Rutgers has benefited because it's a New York television market, Brian. That's the other side. The other joke. This is a joke back in 2011 from the LSU. I think it was the director of athletics at the time, and people laughed this off. And now they're going back and they are quote tweeting this to say, "Oh, whoops." Says we are moving to a universe where there are two conferences. One is called ESPN, and the other is called Fox.
I didn't laugh at the time because it was true. It was, they're making these decisions based on what's best for them and what's best for their programming. They aren't interested in what's best for college sports.
Yeah.
They're interested in their bottom line. And you can argue all day whether they should be. ESPN, we go back to NASCAR, was behind, in part, the destruction of NASCAR. So was Fox. ESPN did it in the late 90s. Fox did it when they took over. NBC was a part of that. They only care about their programming because that's all they're supposed to care about.
Mm-hmm.
But we look at them because of the money as some kind of savior, and that's not what they are. They are the mechanism for getting your product out there. But conferences gave them the power, and presidents listened to the money, and so we've let them dictate it for what's best for their programming, not anything else. I have no problem with them looking out for their bottom line, but there was no responsible party in the conferences or in the schools that was willing to say, hey, for just a minute, let's see what's actually best for us behind just dollar signs. Mm-hmm. And that's where the sport got off track. And once it's off that track, you can't ever get it back on there.
B-Rice,
at some point it's not worth the money.
Real quick, let me put on my orange tinted glasses with the block VOLS on it real quick. Yeah. How does this team finish up recruiting, and why did Kentucky fans get so mad about this Conyer kid committing to UT?
I think Kentucky is worried that if you don't get the top player in your state and they go to Tennessee, then it just verifies what you've been in fear of for a long time, which is even though we've built our program up, we're still behind Tennessee. And that's not a message internally that they want there. So I think that's where you saw the anger that Tennessee can come get whoever they want from this state, and that's a problem for them. How does Tennessee finish recruiting-wise? I think that's a really good question over the course of the next few weeks. How does Tennessee capitalize on the guys that were all in together for official visits a weekend ago? You've seen Tennessee get a couple of guys from that group. You saw Tennessee lose a 5-star offensive lineman in Francis Maigoa. Now, he's going to Miami where he had a long-term relationship with Mario Cristobal from when he was at Oregon. I'm not going to fault Tennessee for losing that. They're taking swings at big players. That has a really good chance to pay off for them. The risk is also that all those guys decide to go somewhere else, even though you have the 5-star quarterback, and then you wonder where your class is. I think Tennessee's going to get several more guys from that group that were in a week before last, but it's going to be a battle to keep them all the way to December because that's just who you're recruiting.
Yeah.
I do think the positive for Tennessee is that they are going to give recruits reason to recommit, not give anybody a reason to look around based on how they play this fall.
B. Rice, Team Bluey. I just wish Bluey was a boy. I thought Bluey was a boy and Bingo was a girl.
Same.
And then you find out they're both girls, which is great because I have a daughter, and I bought a Bluey toy, but I was just like, I thought we were both represented here. Turns out we're not. Both the children are girls.
And it's swimming in the estrogen ocean. That's what he's doing.
It is a great show, though. Teaches great messages. It's fun. It's so much better than Coco Melon, which is now banned, and CG has forgotten that it existed, so we're in a good place.
Perfect. Cooper thinks the show is called Dad, though. So he looks and goes, Dad? He doesn't want me. He wants Bluey on TV.
Is that because of the theme song?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I got you. Makes sense. All right, B. Rice, appreciate you, brother.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Indeed. It got later than I thought. I didn't realize it was quite this late, so we blew past that break. But it
actually
happens.
good.
He's always good.
I know.
But that was petty.
That was petty. I guess.
615-737-1045. So when does the NFL have to raise the rookie wage scale to match NIL? We can think about that as well. It's Jay Martin, Ramon, 1045 The Zone. Hey, let me tell you about PAI Medical. Michael Ramsey and my friends over there have given help to thousands of men and women when it comes to hair loss. And you know it can affect your confidence and you're looking in the mirror and it's not what you want it to be anymore and you're just not used to it. Maybe it's just starting. Well, now's the best time because, well, it's a progressive condition. And if you catch it early, certainly you can do something about it a lot faster and just cut it off completely at the pass. And PAI, all they do is hair. They're the very best at it. Surgical procedures or non-surgical solutions, whatever it is that you need. Some of them as simple as just going in and sitting under a lamp for 20 minutes. You don't even feel it, and it helps rejuvenate cells. All of these things are natural techniques. They've come a long way. It's a gradual thing. If people are around you every day, they don't even notice, and all of a sudden you're just thickening up, and you can feel the confidence coming back into your life, a little bit more of a bounce in your step. When it comes to cost, affordable payment plans that fit anyone's budget, PAI has been in Nashville for over a quarter of a century, and all they do is hair. They are really the very best at it, and they're some of the best people that I have ever met, especially since moving to Nashville. 615-376-6010 is the telephone number, 376-6010. Talk to Michael Ramsey or one of his expert staff. Get their opinion. You will be glad you did. Or visit them online at wegrowhair.com. That's wegrowhair.com.
It is so hot the crackheads are putting the copper back in the AC units.
That was solid right there, man.
Definitely not bad. It is hot, man. So hot the ocean only has heat waves.
Look at you, man.
Cops out here chasing thieves, but they're both walking.
Speed, not even speed.
Nobody's running. Thermometer has a new level. It's just, are you kidding me?
Thermometers are popping out here right now. Tell you what, grass is popping too.
It's basically like walking on frosted flakes.
It is.
Seriously, it like feels like you're just on cereal.
Shh.
That
like
sounds,
snow.
It sounds like the zoo.
The turtles.
Yeah.
Look at Shafe. Shafe's like, nah, man. Like, I'm running water also, and my grass is still getting torched.
Yeah, I'm doing it every 2 days for 30 minutes or so. Trying to be responsible with the water, but not letting my lawn just completely die. And it's still, I look at it and I'm just like, boy, it's on life support, man.
And y'all
it's on life support.
I like to brag about my grass too, and I got nothing. I got nothing this year. There's nothing that can be done about it. Let me ask you this. So I had this conversation. I tweeted it the other day too. What's the end of summer for you?
The end of summer?
Yeah.
I don't know that I have like one moment where it ends.
Training camp.
Training camp?
No, because it's hot as balls at training camp, man.
But my brain, no, it's even though it's still summer hot, to me, it's not summertime anymore.
Is it the season of football that kind of does it, where you're like, all right, let me zone in?
I just feel like fall. I think it begins with that opening weekend of college football.
That's fall begins.
No, I'm not saying like on the calendar. I'm saying for me, that's when I start to feel like summer's really over.
Nah.
Is when college football starts. When high school football starts.
My mindset now,
the week before.
Summer's over. And I got a lot of stuff still going on. Still
right
throughout.
now?
Yeah, summer's. My mind is stuck in that mode. Like all things are channeled towards the season now. That's how. Let me explain. Well, maybe that's something I can explain coming back because we're past the clock a little bit.
Yeah, we got.
We can have that conversation. When does summer end for you?
Yeah. I wish it ended right now. I mean, I like it, but it is hot, man.
And I'll give my reasoning and everything else. I see if we can, crowdsource a little bit on when does summer end for you.
Third hour is wide open. 615-737-1045. Man, clothes are ironing themselves out here. It's so hot. We'll be right back. It's Jay Martin and Ramon, 1045 The Zone.
Not great, Bob.
Well, renting is a thing you do, but a lot of times you start to realize, I was only doing it because I had to. Can I actually get out of this? Rents are continuing to rise at the fastest pace in decades. The average increase right here in our backyard in Nashville is 21% year over year. So basically what you're doing is paying the landlord's mortgage instead of paying your own. Make this the year you start building equity, investing in your financial future. Talk to the experts at Mortgage Investors Group to help you get started on your path to home ownership. Mortgage Investors Group is the Southeast's leading mortgage lender. They're here to make sure you get the right home loan. You can get a loan in some spots, but is it going to be the one that actually fits you best? Their team of mortgage experts are going to take the time because they care. They're committed to helping you close on time, making sure that that loan is structured exactly how you need it to be, and they're going to make your home buying goals a reality. I want you to go to migonline.com today. Get everything you need to get you started. Find the office nearest you. Then right after that, go to Zillow. You'll see there's an MIG difference. Over 2,600 reviews will tell you so. So again, migonline.com. Find the office nearest you or text MIG to 31399. That's MIG to 31399 to get pre-qualified. Mortgage Investors Group, the right home loan, equal housing lender, license number 109111.
It is 8:02. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com Sports Desk.
Kicking the 1-2, got him swinging, strike three. And the Braves take down the Cardinals 7-1.
And Atlanta continues to chop on with that victory over St. Louis yesterday. Austin Riley homered. He drove in 3 runs. Atlanta 2.5 games behind the Mets for first place in the NL East. Demaryius Thomas had CTE. That's according to doctors from Boston University who had been studying the former NFL star's brain. Thomas was found dead in his Georgia home this past December 9th, just 15 days before his 34th birthday. For our foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once. On your home for the Titans and the Vols, this is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? J-Mart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Yeah. It is hot out there, man. If you're in a car, you are figuring out right now that your seatbelt makes a pretty good branding iron.
Go ahead and mark you up, put you back in the fence.
Don't even bother fishing, man. You're pulling out catfish that are already fried. You don't even have to put them on the grill.
Not cool.
Love a good
No,
catfish.
not cool, literally.
No, it's swampy outside today too. What's the humidity today, Jay? Let me look this up to get it.
It's like 77, 78 dew point for the rest of the week, which is
Better.
preposterously high. Like just
Nashville.
stupid high.
72% right now.
This is when you sit on the toilet
Oh,
and you get condensation on your rear end because it's evaporating that fast.
I don't even want to imagine that, Jason. Come on, dog.
It don't bother me, bro.
What we got going on here this morning, Jason Aloysius Martin?
Like I said, Rhett gave me a pro tip last week, and I started doing it, and it does work.
Wiping your butt?
That does work, too, but
I see you shave. Go ahead. What you
just you get in the shower.
Okay.
And nothing worse than getting out of a hot shower and it's hot. Your body temperature's all wrong and you're sweating immediately.
Facts.
So he just gradually turns down the temperature, ends up being almost a cold shower for the last few minutes.
Yeah.
Started doing that. Does help.
Yeah, no, I do
It
that.
definitely does help.
Especially
But you can't just get into a cold shower.
No.
I've done that a few times. It's just like, no.
Oh, you get stanza and it's not good.
It's just too much of a shut. No. It's too much of a shock.
You know where I learned that from? And in middle school science class, we speaking about, I guess they were talking about frogs. Then, cold-blooded. And one way, it was a story I was telling, if you put a frog in cold water and gradually heat it up, then they pass away instead of just throwing them in the hot water. There's a humane way how to cook your lobster and that type of seafood stuff too. You're not supposed to just dive them into the hot water. One, you're supposed to use the knife and cut it down the middle and throw it into the water so that it's dead already. Or you can put them into cold water and gradually boil them, and that's one way to cook your lobster. Cool little pro tip right there. It's one way to cool your human body down too, is to gradually go to cold water. So it's
people are out here burning their houses down to cool off.
Nice. What? I had a firefighter buddy of mine. We were shooting off fireworks. Is telling me they've had more just random house fires that just only thing you can contribute it to is to heat. Period. There's no other way around it. Hot outside. Y'all stay cool and
Pretty
hydrated.
much any fire you attribute to heat.
Oh, well, no, this excessive heat. They've had more bigger, intense fires. Jason, you knew I was going at, and I know what you were doing right there.
Well, then why in the world are you still fighting back on it then?
Because that's what I do. I always get the last word. Just got it right there. But
we can talk about Joey Chestnut and LeBron James.
No,
except we're better than that.
Skip.
Quit bitching.
That was a great drop yesterday.
I heard that yesterday. I sure did.
Quit bitching.
Yeah.
That was Jeff Jarrett.
Double J. What seat was he in?
The
He
sleigh
was over
seat.
there. He was
Kayla's always in your seat.
Is she?
Yeah.
And Kayla had to fight about this, man. No wonder my seat's all Nah, I'm joking, Kayla. I kid.
Quit bitching.
You're right. You're right. That voice is super smooth.
That's
and
why I
silky.
like this, because of how, like,
Yeah. Let's do it again, Shafe.
Quit bitching.
Golly, Double J, you got to say that to me in person. That was awesome right there. That was almost kind of silky.
That's what she said.
Johnston. If we just want to be so insular that no one understands what we're doing. So summer ends.
Yeah, I had that question to you. When does summer end for you? And with me, it's always been 4th of July. After the 4th of July, it was lock-in mode. And I'm still that way because I anticipate – well, it was after the 4th of July because everything then was either I already had it scheduled and planned, like my anniversary is the 14th, so I knew I have that coming up, and I'm designating time for that for me and my wife. Anything else outside of that, shut down.
See, we have two things going on here. There's the actual season and the weather of summer and the mentality of you get to relax in the summertime.
Those
are the two different things we're talking about at the same time.
That's where I'm at. After the 4th of July, it's my last probably big cookout because I don't really do anything for Labor Day. I do, but it ain't as big as the 4th of July. Last time I'm going to have that many people at my house other than maybe Thanksgiving and Christmas. So for me, it's the end of the summer because training picks up a little bit more before camp takes off. I'm in the mindset that the season is about to start, which I am right now too. Like I'm anticipating the start of the Titan season. I'm anticipating the start of college football. I'm anticipating the start of Steelers football season kicking off. Like all of those things happen for me after the 4th of July because I'm like, clearly, I'm sure you turned on the tube this week too, Jay, or this weekend, the TV. Nothing. Absolutely nothing on TV. And I'm like, yep, this is why I shut down the summer after the 4th, simply because there's nothing else going on and everything is wired or funneled to the start of football.
Yeah, I think it's just I can't feel like it's over because it's still it feels like it's a long way out because camp does nothing for me. I didn't play.
Yeah,
so camp doesn't mean anything to me.
I'm with you.
Basically at all, except hopefully not hearing a bunch of injury reports and things like that.
Yeah.
Preseason sucks.
But
it's boring.
But we at least get football.
I would say I still look at it in terms of like when I went back to school, that was the end.
That was the end for
Labor
you?
Day or near the end of August or wherever that was going to be. Maybe it's week 0 of high school football or something like that. But I feel like a football has to be in the air in a game that counts for me to feel like summer really has ended.
But even as a kid, though, I remember like us having big cookouts as a family. And after the 4th was over, the fireworks was popped. We probably have some bottle rockets the next day. All that was on my mind was, man, we got to go to school soon.
I think for me, after the 4th of July, that's when I would be working for my dad full time for the rest of the summer.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, break's over.
Break's over.
Yeah, in about a month.
Yeah.
But for us and what we do, like, other than it just not being great from a topic standpoint in terms of what's happening in the sports landscape, having to think outside the box a little bit more and all of that, I mean, once you get to the adult side of things, your life doesn't really change based on the season. It's like, why is it that I want it to snow so much? Because it's not going to do anything but make what I still have to do more difficult. But I still look at it through a child's eye, and I'm like, I'm out of school, but I'm not. I'm not out of anything.
Yeah.
Except maybe I'm broadcasting via Zoom now.
Yeah. So we had a few tweet at us and said school is over. I mean, summer's over when school starts.
See, that's kind of more.
That's where you're at?
Where the pool is starting to get so cold you can't really be in it anymore.
Well, we also just had Micah DeJesus just said, my summer ends when it's too cold to get in the pool or lake. Like, but see, my summer ain't my favorite season at all. I'll be honest with you. It's just
me either.
I can deal with the cold.
Guy.
Yeah, autumn or cold way better than I can deal with the heat.
I can always put on another layer.
Yeah. But to strip down, that's indecent exposure at that point.
None of us want to see you strip
down.
Yeah,
it's all good.
The worst thing, but I sleep hot anyway.
Yeah.
It's just I hate sweating in bed.
Yeah.
Like you got to keep the temp down like 68.
Yeah. 68 is perfect, but that's designated sleep.
And actually, you're supposed to have it cold because you sleep better in cold temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
But
so I keep trying to tell my wife.
But if you can't find a way to get cool, I mean, worms are out here right now. Birds are actually pulling worms out with oven mitts.
Dude, you remember the birds on my front porch I told you about? I think it's been so hot for them, the mom pushed them out. Like both of the babies are out right now. And my son, Miles, is like, Dad, what you going to do? I'm like, Miles, I got it. Today the birds got to go because I honestly do think nature took over and it was, I don't know whether too crowded or too hot, but the baby birds are out right now.
Do you think if you just took popcorn kernels
and fed them
and put them outside your house?
You stupid. Is it that hot? to pop.
I don't know.
But to my point, though, about summer ending, it's a wrap for me right now, though, Jay.
I mean, I get it. I don't have that mentality.
Because what other event is left to do for the summer? After
a
the
lot
fourth,
of concerts, a lot of movies.
Concerts and movies. That's still leisure, though, as far as like events.
Well, that's what summer is. Summer's leisure. It's events. It's stuff like that. It's not holidays.
Maybe if I had a boat or something, I was a lake guy, I feel a little bit different. But I've just been so embedded in the idea that, okay, everything channels football at this point. And that's why I've always kind of correlated football season to its own season, too. Like it's a date on the calendar that really kicks off everything else for the fall. I've always appreciated that. But I can understand where you come from, too. You're like, no, it's hot. We're outside. It's lit. Let's go.
Yeah, just summer is the sun's going to make it so I don't want to run outside nearly as much, potentially.
Yes.
Burn more calories, but the pool is open.
The pool is open. When you get to the fall, which is my favorite season, and I've increasingly become a spring fan because spring's temperate. Yeah.
I like the idea of maybe I can wear shorts, but if I wear pants, it's not going to be a disaster. Maybe I get a quarter zip day, but I also might get a T-shirt day. Like it's just temperate. I don't want it to be insanely cold, but insanely hot is just miserable.
I push for mild days, man. I'll be completely honest.
When it
with
is
you.
this insanely hot, to me, it is just as miserable when it's very cold.
I agree. When it's super cold, you're just in misery.
You're miserable on either extreme.
Yeah. Which is why most people would say spring and fall because they're more middle of the road.
Like, to me, this type of weather's actually been depressing.
I mean, they're like you. They're like you. Those seasons are like you, Shafe. They are just mediocrity when it comes to temperature.
It's funny because you talked about the shorts and pants thing. The fam really prefers when you wear pants.
Oh, I know they do. I know they do because the light in the studio doesn't help.
We've had some say Labor Day as the end.
Yeah, and I can see it. Again, that's where college football starts.
That's the
usually
kickoff.
weekend of college football is Labor Day weekend.
It's just never Labor Day wasn't always the biggest because I was always practicing a plan though. So my mindset
That's
is a little
because you were
different.
practicing that you were going to play the next.
You know
week.
what Coach said though? You rather be laboring on Labor Day.
Look, man, you can't.
Which means
spell,
you got a job.
You can't spell football without fall.
It's technically true.
I mean, that's true.
I just thought of that. I imagine someone else has beforehand.
You damn sure ain't cute.
615-737-1045 is the telephone number.
Perk drop. Right
737-1045. We didn't actually do that NFL topic. Plus, Fowler is doing his ranking the NFL's top 10 list for the next 11 days where execs, coaches, players are making their best picks. Yesterday was edge rushers. We didn't talk about it all. We can run through it a little bit, but at the same time, like, there's no Titan on the edge rusher list. We can go ahead and tell you that, but we'll tell you who it is. And today is going to be off-ball linebackers, and that'll drop here probably within the next hour or so. We might be able to talk about it before the end of the show. Could there be a Titan on that list? We'll see. It's Jay Martin and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
Is the summertime causing you to lose your cool? I'm going to answer that for you. Yes. Yes, it is. It's making everything lose its cool, okay? But don't let a broken down or older HVAC unit keep you from being comfortable in your own home. It's Ramon Foster, and I have the heating and cooling company that can take care of all of your HVAC needs, and they are Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They offer free service calls with the repairs plus low monthly payments on those repairs also. And if you do need a new unit, Spring Hill Heating and Cooling offers 60 months, no interest financing. Plus, they can provide the financing for qualifying purchases and free estimates on replacement systems also. And they back their work with 10-year parts and labor warranties. So when the summer is at its hottest, and I'll be real, I don't know if we're at our hottest yet, but it feels like it. But I'm here to tell you this. They are at their best. And by they, I mean Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They are available anytime at springhillac.com. So don't let your old unit or your house be uncomfortable. Go talk to the folks that I know at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
This is the song that I most associate with summertime. It's hot. Frozen pizza is ready to eat right out of the freezer right now. Everybody's dream house is now an igloo.
Yes.
Mortgage Investors Group can help you out with that.
Hold that.
They can get you an igloo right now.
Hold that.
That fits everything you need. Artificial plants are wilting out here. It's bad.
It's bad. Artificial plants. Grandma's fruit display is melting on the table right now.
So I lied. Didn't know I lied, but
okay.
The NFL rankings for Jeremy Fowler yesterday was edge rushers. We're going to run through that, but today's is top 10 defensive tackles, and it's come out. Execs, coaches, players pick the best interior pass rushers and run stoppers. So they survey for this list 50 league executives, coaches, scouts, and players, stack the top 10 players, 11 different positions. They do one a week, or one a day, I should say. We had Jeremy Fowler towards the end of it last time. Probably will try to do the same thing again. So you already know who number one is. Aaron Donald. Zero quotes or argument needed here. Donald got every single first place vote. 4-time DPOY with 98 sacks in 8 seasons. 26.7% pass rush win rate was nearly 7 points higher than that of any other D tackle in 21. Yeah. They just gave him $40 million in additional contract money just because he's Aaron Donald.
Say that again real quick, Jay.
They just gave him $40 million in additional contract money just because he's Aaron Donald. NFC scout said, I just try to appreciate his greatness, but I don't have to play him as a guard.
Yeah, buddy. That's all.
Good reason to retire right there.
Yeah. That young man right there is a menace. And not just that, his size. Like, Aaron Donald might be 6'1". He 6'1", and you're just trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to go against this guy? What's my leverage? What's his leverage? And then you figure that in as far as, like, his quickness and everything else that's surrounding it. Like, this dude is generational. You know, you ask yourself all the time, who's going to be that next guy? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was the question? Who's the next Jordan? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We're asking those questions now. What is the NBA go? Who's the next LeBron? Who's the next Brady? Mm-hmm. And just all of a sudden you find yourself looking at walking gold jackets, legends, 4-time defensive player of the year, made Pro Bowl every year, and I think all pro every year after that. Like, Pro Bowl is one thing, but to make all pro every year after that, Reggie White's a guy everybody points to, right? If we're being real, Reggie's a guy.
Reggie and
Warren
LT.
Sapp, LT, as far as D tackles, like big D linemen. Like, you're right, Reggie and LT.
Well, I mean, LT's a linebacker, but I'm talking about just like in terms of the two guys that you put on the all-time list, those are the two that always come to mind when you're talking about the greatest defensive players of all time. And this dude's either now on that list or he's beaten both of them.
And it ain't disrespectful to say that.
Not at all.
All right, I love Reggie White. You know what I'm saying? When he passed, like, you know, certain celebrities, figures kind of pass, and you're like, oh, man, that's sad. When he passed, it was kind of like, dang, like, not him, you know what I'm saying? So seeing a legend like that kind of be having, I guess you say Aaron Donald's in the same airspace. We'll call that. Even the same airspace to kind of eclipse him a little bit. You just say to yourself, the sport kind of take care of itself in times. Like, if you're that type of person, you'll be this good. And we thought we had something with J.J. Watt. Did we not? And J.J. kind of crushed it. But did he crush it like this?
I mean, not on the level of Aaron Donald. I mean, J.J. Watt is...
Because he's our most recent, right?
J.J. Watt's another all-time great.
He is.
He's famous. He's a big-time celebrity guy. He's done a lot of good stuff. He's had a lot of great seasons.
Yeah.
You're not putting him in the same list with those three guys.
No.
I mean, those three guys are the three guys at this point in time.
That's very fair.
And that's historic. Just historic. Let's go to Jason real quick before I get to number 2 on this list. Jason, what you got?
What's up, Jay?
Hey, man, I wanted to comment. Well, I got 2 comments because y'all done got me hyped on the defensive thing. That song that you played, Will Smith, instead of it saying sit back and unwind, it should be sit back and pass out in Nashville. This humidity is terrible, and these people down here drinking beer like that's hydrating them.
Yeah.
And they got Vanderbilt down here with IVs trying to keep people going at the CMA bed. You know, it's crazy, man. Oh, defensive player, let me throw this out here. You cannot mention great defensive players without bringing up Patrick Willis.
Yeah.
I know that's just my opinion. Everybody's got opinions. But, man, I just want to tell y'all, I want to release something I've been holding on myself for years. That unit that they had together when Alden Smith was with them, man, I was like, man, you don't see defensive players like that no more. And I don't think we're going to because the NFL promotes offense. It's an offense-driven league, so I don't even know if we're going to have players like that no more. But thank y'all, man. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned. Look, you can start going through a lot longer lists, but I think the three guys that we mentioned are the three that are universally recognized at this stage as probably the three best defensive players of all time. And that's no disrespect to a Ray Lewis. It's no disrespect to a Mike Singletary. It's no disrespect to a Patrick Willis or many great defensive players.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can go back through eras and generations. You start trying to compare that, it gets very difficult because the games have changed, the training regimens have changed, the size has changed, a lot of stuff has changed. LT, Reggie White, Aaron Donald, just I feel like they're on a different level the way that they're all three discussed.
The way, and not just that, the accolades of it all too, Jay. You know what I'm saying? Like these defensive players of the year types. Like I brought up Sapp, but like Sapp All-Pro, Hall of Fame, and everything else. But was it as dominant as what we're seeing year after year after year after year, the way we've seen Aaron Donald kind of do this? And yeah, you're right. Pat Willis, there's a lot of guys that's in that conversation with him as far as their importance to the game and how he played it too. And I'll say this too about Pat Willis is also, well, what more could we have gotten? Because he retired early.
Yeah, he retired early.
You know?
And he was a freak, athletic-wise,
Yes, he
speed-wise. I know they're saying that in the chat. Running the football in high school. He's just one of those guys.
I actually tried to look up his recruiting ranking a while back. I saw a meme the other day say guys can sit around and just talk about football players and what they did.
Yeah.
I was on Rivals or 24/7 Sports just looking at Tennessee's top recruits and how some pan out and some didn't. This is a conversation we had another time. NBA players, as far as their ranking 1 through 5, almost every year we went through, every single one of the high school rated top 5 players went first round. NFL doesn't do that. It's pretty wild, and I think it's because it's more time for guys to either ascend or descend with their careers.
Sure. So number 1 is Aaron Donald on this list.
Yeah.
Again, this is Fowler's, and what it is NFL executives and coaches and players and scouts. They put this together every year. Top 10 defensive tackles. Number 1 is Aaron Donald. Number 2 is Jeffrey Simmons.
Who?
Number 2. Last year he was not in the top 10. Or no, sorry. Somebody had him ranked outside of the top 10. Everybody had Aaron Donald number 1. His low ranking was 1. Highest ranking for Jeff was 2. Lowest ranking out of top 10. I have no idea who that person was. Last year's ranking was 6 for Big Jeff. I'll just read what it says. In last year's ranking, a GM said Simmons might be the closest thing to Donald as far as NFL D tackles go. No one is close to Donald, to be sure. But as far as game records, Simmons exploded onto the scene in his 3rd season. NFL scouting director said one of the best defenders in football, right behind Donald as far as tackles. He's the scary guy you don't want to see. In 2021, Simmons produced 8.5 sacks while recording the highest run-stop win rate on this list, 38.4%, which was 20th in the NFL. Game wrecker, an AFC scout said. Can play 3 technique or nose tackle, high motor, physical, unique blend of get-off quickness and power, impacts the game in both phases. Another guy you have to know where he is at all times. Then it says at the end, some evaluators argue he's not as pure a pass rusher as some of the others listed here, but that's nitpicking. His presence and power cause disruption. So Jeff is number 2. We certainly don't disagree with him being high up on any list of D tackles. In fact, I'm good with him being right here.
I can admit, like certain games against certain D tackles, I'd be like, all right, man, I don't need any distractions. I'm here. I'm focused on this. Like I'm dissecting everything they do. Jeff is one of those types of dudes. Aaron Donald is one of those type of. Fletcher Cox was one of those type of dudes to where they're good against the run, and they're also good against the pass. Them talking about he's not a pass rusher. I don't think that's necessarily the case because the thing is the way he plays, as violent as he plays, it almost sets up the pass rush regardless. And I think that's what who wrote that.
He's not a pure. He's saying evaluators argue he's not as pure a pass rusher because he does other things.
I'd argue that one. I understand it though. I can get it.
But here's what this means. As I said this to you when I saw this was the list they had put out today. I mean, we said, you know what all this means?
Talk to me.
Money.
Money.
Yeah.
It means this man is about to get paid.
Broketh.
And he better get paid here, or the fans are not going to tolerate it. But this is why, if you had to make the choice,
Yes, sir.
you let the receiver go.
Mm-hmm.
Because AJ's not going to be number 2 on the wide receiver list.
I don't see that. Especially.
And the skill set of Aaron Donald, and even if nobody is close to Donald, and Jeff Simmons is number 2 on that list, that's a skill set that's really rare.
Yeah, it is.
You don't find that size. You don't find that kind of motor. You also don't find just that nastiness just everywhere. And so you get Jeff and you put him next to Danico Autry, who was voted last week by ESPN as the most underrated Titan because they ranked a most underrated, underappreciated member of every team in the NFL, and Danico Autry was that guy. And I would not disagree for a minute with that because we love Danico and loved what he brought last year, especially next to Jeff. But this means Jeff's getting paid, and it means he's getting paid a lot, and it means he's getting paid a lot relatively soon.
The longer they wait, the higher the price goes up. You got NFL execs talking about it. Like I know, I heard his interview he did right before minicamp, minicamp ended. He was talking about he hired a team to kind of get, the wheels started on this type of situation. I don't think they wanted to admit that it was contract based, but everybody knows you don't hire representation or you don't start firing an agent unless you're about to make a move for money, man. And Jeff's in a position, like I know the conversation was, well, there'll be a huge gap between a guy like Aaron Donald and everybody else. Aaron Donald, got 31.5 average? I'm still thinking Jeff gets close to 28 at this point, though. That's just me because Jeff is also, looking at his profile, just 24 years old. The potential.
He's 26.
Is he 26?
Yeah, he's 26.
ESPN has it completely wrong. Then they got him at 24. Born in 1997.
26 is the list on ESPN. It says age 26. So are they wrong?
They got to be wrong. Date of birth, 7/28/97. He's born in 97. He's 24. Right? Yeah.
He'll be 25 later this month.
Yeah, 25
So
later
why does
this
it
month.
say 26?
Idiots. Look at him. Wrong.
That's because that sounded too old. Because I'm saying
that's the same thing I
when
thought.
he was drafted.
Yeah, exactly. He's 24 years old.
But they need to fix that. Send Fowler a text and say, go in there and fix that.
Oh, what's wrong with y'all?
Because that'll cost him. That argument will make the money argument change.
Yeah,
not that they're going to base it off of this.
No, they don't. But at 24, well, he'll be 25 when training camp starts up. And I'm looking at this situation like the potential of what this guy has yet to do, Jay. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're talking about he's not as fluid as a pass rusher. That's fine. He's still just 24 years old. And then you got these NFL executives and front office guys that are also making these statements about your guy here in Nashville. Let's talk about the stardom aspect of what he can do. Let's speak about this new stadium. Jeff's young enough to actually be one of the guys that's going to be on the front of this new stadium too. So everything points to the fact that my valuation as far as the Tennessee Titans goes, if I'm Jeffrey Simmons, says, look, you might not think I'm Aaron Donald, but to you I am. To this city I am. You know what I can do for this state, this city, this team, this organization? Like, it's a lot. And I think there's a whole lot of value in that too, whether they want to push them towards the forefront of saying, look, we're going to campaign you as far as Defensive Player of the Year. Because if you're behind Aaron Donald at that position, now I know there's Bosa's, they're out there. I know TJ is still out there. I know there's a bunch of guys that are in that conversation. But number 3 on that list, because I cheated a little bit to look forward, is
Chris Jones.
Chris Jones.
I mean, edge rushers was yesterday, and TJ was one, and Nick Bosa, and those were all on that list.
But you know what I think of Chris Jones.
Yeah.
And for Jeff, at least as far as the NFL executives go, to be ranked ahead of him, that's saying a lot. I don't think you can be mad at the fact that if he decided, look, no, I'm not signing it until you give me what I want. Like the cards are pretty much it's in Jeff's hand.
I feel like 28's a number the Titans.
You don't think they want to go to?
25 is the number I keep looking at. Because 23rd or the 33rd team's trying to say 21, and we've had a couple of guests that have said somewhere around 21, 22. I think that's too low. I think 25 is the number. that's where I'm at. If he gets more than that, I'm fine with it because I think he's earned it. I would pay him whatever he asked.
Yeah.
I think 25 is if you're getting higher than that, I start to worry because I have seen this franchise for way too long.
Your prediction or mine ain't wrong as far as what who's saying. I just want to preface that. Yeah, but I think he gets closer to 28, if not 28 point something. The way this is going to be set up for him, because. And I know they already got a bunch of guys they are paying, but the strength of this team is clearly defensive at this point. And why not the guy at the centerpiece of all of it?
I don't disagree.
You know what I'm saying? Like
I'm saying if it's 28,
I feel you.
All power to you.
Yeah, for sure.
3 is Chris Jones. We mentioned that. 4 is DeForest Buckner in Indianapolis.
That's tough.
His lowest ranking was actually higher than both Jeff Simmons and Chris Jones. Chris Jones and Jeff Simmons' highest ranking was 2. Lowest ranking was out of top 10. Chris Jones was 2 last year. So he drops to 3 this year, and Simmons takes that spot from 6 to 2. So you see what kind of season he had in the eyes of the league. DeForest Buckner's highest ranking was 2. His lowest ranking was 8. He was 3 last year. He drops a spot, but obviously we know how good DeForest Buckner is.
Yeah, he's solid.
We know how good he is. And look, what's the common denominator in DeForest Buckner dropping a spot and Jeff Simmons moving up 4 spots?
Titans a better team in the
Who
division.
was next to DeForest Buckner 2 years ago?
Who's next to DeForest?
Before last season.
It wasn't Grover.
It was Danico Autry.
Danico!
So you add Autry to Simmons, and now Simmons is ranked higher than Buckner, who lost Danico Autry last year.
Nothing wrong with being a Robin, y'all.
No, I mean, look, those 2 guys, we knew this. Simmons, and that's why we tried to name them, because they're both from Mississippi State. We're going to come up with something for them because we understood that Danico made Jeff Simmons better. It helped unlock him. It gave him a little bit of experience, added more to the nastiness. The 2 of those guys together were just massive.
Oh, right, Jay.
And so DeForest Buckner dropped just a shade. And one of the things that changed is Danico was not next to him any longer.
Danico ain't there. That's so interesting, man, because we talk about this a lot. At least it's emphasis to me, the core players. Like Danico ain't a core player. He's a step above that.
Oh, yeah.
But the significance of just how important he is to teams, not being a Pro Bowler, All-Pro, stadium banner guy, I think is vastly underrated, man. Yeah. Very much so.
That's why he was listed as most underrated Titan. Wouldn't disagree. I thought that was the best signing they made last year by far, because they got him at a bargain, and he came in and balled all year.
Big time.
And he brought the attitude that this defense was trying to find on the front end. And Jeff already had the attitude. It just made him that much more confident and more nasty because he knew he had a ride or die next to him on that line. 615-737-1045. We'll come back and we'll go through the rest of the top 10. Your thoughts on it if you'd like at 737-1045 here. Jay Martin, Ramon, 1045 The Zone.
Man, Jay, everybody's trying to figure out a way to beat the Heat. I don't care if it's your car, a fan you put around your neck, okay? But inside your house, you can beat the Heat with Window Nation.
Yeah, you can.
You feel me? Where you can save $200 on any style new window from Window Nation. Plus, pay nothing until 2024. Lower your energy bills and raise the value of your home with new energy-efficient windows from Window Nations, dog.
Top-of-the-line materials, mold spray, Quad Max sealant. Look, if the windows aren't sealed, especially when it's this hot, your thermostat, it doesn't even read what the temperature is. Your HVAC is working too hard. All of these things are costing you money. So why not get the windows fixed? Make your house look better in the process. Again, save $200 off any style window from Window Nation with every 2 you buy. No payments, no interest until 2024. You're going to save thousands on your new windows and your energy bills at the same time, all while upgrading the look and feel of your home. Trusted by over 100,000 homeowners. That includes me. I believe they're coming out today. I said they were coming out yesterday. They didn't make it, but I believe they're coming out before the end of the week. We got to get our windows taken care of. Window Nation is who we trust. 866-90-NATION is the telephone number. Again, it's 866-90-NATION or online. Where can you go, Mo?
At windownation.com. Shave. The summer.
It's hot outside, guys. Carry a
36.
spatula today.
You are a legend for this instrumental.
That's good.
Hey.
Carry a spatula today, fellas.
Why?
So you can move your balls from your leg.
Excuse me?
Daddy.
The milk's gone bad. Oh. Jay, every once in a while, you go off the rails. This the summer by 36 beat is insane, Jay. Hey, way to work, Shafe.
Yeah, that's
You
good.
can get a tip today. We got a tip jar back there?
We can make it happen.
All right, we'll make it happen. All right, cool.
Top 4 in the NFL execs, people inside the league, defensive tackles. Aaron Donald, Big Jeff, number 2, like we talked about. Chris Jones, 3. DeForest Buckner, 4. Cam Hayward is 5.
Mm-hmm.
Highest ranking was 3. Lowest ranking out of the top 10. Last year, he was 4th. I don't understand, like, how do you have people like the ones that we've mentioned? There's some people that don't even have them in the top 10. Like, what is this?
Some people don't like nice things, Jay.
6 is Kenny Clark.
Kenny
Highest
Clark's
ranking of
solid.
3. He's 6. Last year's ranking, he was honorable mention.
Oh, wow. Look at Kenny Clark.
Vita Vey, number 7, highest ranking 3. Last year's ranking was 9. Eric Armstead of the Niners, highest ranking was 3. Last year's ranking honorable mention. Grady Jarrett with the Falcons.
Yeah, solid
He was
player.
4th last year, so he's dropped 5 spots. Last year's ranking was 10, though.
But had a bad season, too, though. Anybody in that above him had bad seasons last year, Jay? No. Tampa, no. Green Bay, no. Cam, no. Colts, no.
What are you asking about?
Did anybody above Grady have a bad season like the team did?
Jonathan Allen, maybe. Jonathan Allen's number 10 on the list of Commanders.
No, I was saying above Grady because Grady dropped a
above
good
him,
bit.
right?
I'm
Well,
saying
he didn't drop. He actually went up from last year.
Grady did.
But he had nobody that ranked him higher than 4th.
Okay. All right.
Would be what it is. But last year's ranking was 10th. So he actually went from 10th to 9th
To
this
ninth.
year.
Gotcha.
Jonathan Allen went from honorable mention to 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Honorable mentions this year, Leonard Williams with the Giants, who I still famously wanted the Titans to draft 2 years ago.
And been solid.
He's been all right, yeah.
Yep.
Had 6.5 sacks, 81 tackles last year on a terrible defense.
Mm-hmm.
They said he's underachieved somewhat, but he's on a bad football team. That's what an AFC exec said.
Terrible, man.
Javon Hargrave with the Eagles. Fletcher Cox with the Eagles.
Yep.
Out of the top 10, but after 10 seasons, no longer considered the star he once was. But he's still a good starter, can still turn it on. DJ Jones, who I'm super excited about that the Broncos landed, he had an awesome 2021.
Mm-hmm.
3 years, $30 million with Denver. I think is going to pay off big. Had a 47.1% run stop win rate. Was number 2 in the league. First among D linemen.
Yeah.
Also receiving votes, J.J. Watt. But you see, look, it's about over.
It is.
Calais Campbell still getting votes.
I was talking about him last night.
You're talking about him all the time.
Yeah.
David Onyemata.
Yeah.
Quinnen Williams with the Jets. DJ Reader, who the Titans, of course, saw in the playoffs with Cincinnati. And Christian Wilkins, who's having a nice career in Miami.
That kid going to be all right. So I like Christian Wilkins.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty solid. But, yeah, I did Darren Bates' pod last night, recorded with it, the Raw Room.
Yeah.
And he was asking me some of the best D tackles I played against. And I was like, let me go old school and new school. And I ended up dropping Calais. And he was like, oh, my gosh.
You've mentioned him before.
Yeah.
Anytime we start talking about guys you didn't want to play against.
Calais. And Darren Bates even said that he was in on the fullback play. It was like, and he was supposed to be the lead blocker and said he had to go block Calais. He said, let's just say they didn't run his way. Calais is still a monster, man. He'd be one of those free agent signings on the team. Be like, yeah, I can see why you're signing him, even as an old guy.
Yeah, because he can do something.
Yeah.
So, again, that's respect for Jeff Simmons.
Big
Last
time.
year he was 6th. This year he goes to 2nd. And I just I looked at it and I saw Jeff Simmons and I saw DeForest Buckner, and they swapped basically. Jeff went from 6 to 2. DeForest dropped a spot. Now, look, Chris Jones finished in 3rd here. And what was he last year? He was 2nd last year.
Yep.
So Simmons jumped over him. And look, the Titans were carried by the defense for the most part last year when they had to be, and he was the face of that defense, especially the front seven, which became really the fearsome side. And, of course, Kevin Byard handling things on the back end and Christian Fulton and all that. But I just looked at it. It was just like, well, look, you had Danico Autry with DeForest Buckner 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You had him with Jeff Simmons last year, and you saw the two of them just flip. And I think that there is something to be said for the guy that's next to the guy or the guys that are attached to the stars.
Yep, 100%.
Like, why did Golden State win a championship? Well, I mean, Steph, but what about Andrew Wiggins, who turned out to be a great
sign,
great move for them to bring him in after having kind of a quiet start to his career. But they had other dudes that were able to play. They had a wave of guys that could go out there and help their superstars in key contributing spots in key moments. And I think that Danico Autry is one of those guys on that list where you look at that free agent signing and you just think to yourself, yeah, that one worked out real well. When Delaney came over from San Francisco, that was a big-time move that paid off for the Tennessee Titans franchise in a big way. And Autry has probably helped Jeff Simmons grow up a little bit.
Yeah, I would think so.
And that's important.
And learning how to compete within teammates. So that's one thing they talked about is they have a competitive spirit between the two of them, considering they both from state guys also. Really cool. Jeff's just getting started. It's crazy. He's only 24, about to be 25, though, too.
I need to send Fowler that text.
Hey, bud.
He's not 26. He's 24. Because that matters. He's number 2 and he's 24. Number 1 is 31. Number 3 is 27. Number 4 is 28. Number 5 is 33. So he's young and he's number 2.
Damn.
Aaron Donald retires. He'll be atop that list. But Aaron Donald, he's still got football left.
None better.
That's very,
Is he in his
very
30s yet? You said 31?
31, yeah.
31, okay.
And that's about what he's getting per year. Isn't it? 31 and a half?
31 and a half.
Pay me my age.
Yeah, man.
Tom Brady's going to say the same thing.
How you want to negotiate? My age.
My age. By year.
Let's start there.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Fourth hour of the show is coming up. 615-737-1045. I started off with a rant about the Pod Meets World podcast not having Ben Simmons or Ben Savage on it. Don't want Ben Simmons on it. Ben Savage on it. And then said, what show would you like to see that some of the cast members go back and rewatch and do a podcast for, and who would be on that cast? Some of you are dropping those in the chat. We'll get to that. It is hot out there, folks. It feels like 92 at 8:20 this morning. Just insane. Your car is overheating and you don't even have to start it. It's overheating while you're still inside the house. That's a thing that is happening right now.
Say that, but do you even want to pre-start it and cool it down with gas?
I mean, man, even I saw this isn't for me, but it says it's so hot even my ex-wife's heart is melting.
Okay, that's solid.
Cold-blooded, literally. Jay Martin, Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
It is 9:02. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. The Braves won again, defeating the Cardinals 7-1. Austin Riley had 3 RBI, including this home run. Atlanta is 2.5 games behind the Mets for first place in the NL East. Demaryius Thomas had CTE. That's according to doctors from Boston University who had been studying the former NFL star's brain. Thomas was found dead in his Georgia home this past December 9th, just 15 days before his 34th birthday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Welcome in. 4th hour of the hashtag fastest 4 hours in radio upon you, upon us. Blessed to bring it to you, courtesy of All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. All Four Seasons Garages.com. You know what? You don't even have to use a clothes dryer right now. It's so hot you just pull the stuff out of the washing machine and it dries immediately.
It dries.
Just totally.
And done with. The power go out at home? Interesting, Jay. But yeah, we're here now. It's that hot. Welcome in again. Final hour. 4 is up.
Can't buy bread in stores right now either.
Why not?
It's all toast.
Okay. All right. I thought you you caught me off guard with that one.
You can buy bread. It's just dry.
It's just dry.
And that is what we call summertime sports talk radio, boys and girls.
You can't even see pigs out there. Pigs are literally just turning into bacon.
I thought you was going to say they can
just
fly.
Walk around. It's just ham. Just walk over to a pig, pour salt on it. 5 minutes later, you're ready to go.
I never did it, but have you ever used like fried an egg on the asphalt? You ever tried it at home?
I've seen it.
I know.
In a video, no.
You never did it at home yourself?
You can poach eggs. Just put them in a pool right now.
You daggone right. Borderline boiling these days. Too hot to get bread.
Somebody said a Keenan and Kel podcast would be cool. That was past my time. I never watched The Good Burger and all that. It was a little bit, I was already too old by that point.
Yeah, I watched it. I would watch that one too. Family Matters is the one that I've been stuck on. I love to hear a recap of Family Matters and how everything happened and how they wrote off certain people except for the first daughter. Whew, she had an interesting life change.
Yeah. I mean, but if you could only pick 3 on that show, all right. So your podcast now, because this is built off the Boyd Meets World podcast, the Pod Meets World podcast that started last week. And it's Topanga and it's Will Friedel. I can't remember Corey's brother's name, but he's Will Friedel. And Ryder Strong who played Sean. Corey's not on the show. Apparently he didn't want to be a part of it. He just didn't think it would be his thing.
Understood.
Yeah, I get it, but it's also it sucks because you would want. You got everybody that was important to Corey and not Corey. And then guest stars include both the parents, Mr. Feeney, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, well, what we've already seen. Look, The Office has Kevin's got a podcast and Pam and Angela have a podcast.
I didn't know Kevin had one.
I think so, yeah. And so you've got that kind of stuff out there. More of this is being done because there's a market for it. People want podcasts about stuff they love. You can't get enough information about stuff you love. What we know about sports talk is the NFL is a 24/7, 365. We can start talking lists. We can start bringing up stuff, and people are always going to care. In this part of the country, college football plays the exact same way. But these shows, like, you read oral histories. You want to know everything that you can. You want to hear it from the sources. Like, what was it really like? You watch the True Hollywood Stories and Behind the Music, so your favorite artists and all that kind of thing. So what show would be that? So Family Matters was suggested, and I think we all would agree that would be a fun one. So who would you want? Well, you'd want Reginald.
Yeah.
You'd have to have
absolutely.
Carl. I think you would want Jaleel.
I want Jaleel.
You
on
would.
there.
I think you have to have Jaleel.
Yep.
Even if he's tried to get away from that character or whatever else, he's never going to be able to get away from
absolutely
that character.
not. Well, that's another character. We talked about Hillary Banks earlier. What's her name again? You knew her.
Karen Parsons.
Karen Parsons, a.k.a. Hillary Banks. She couldn't. I don't think she could get away from it. Never saw anything else other than Major Payne. I can't recall much.
She's done some other stuff, but it's not anything you would remember particularly.
Yeah, but Jaleel White, Steve Urkel.
Yeah.
Gotta have him, gotta have Laura, and gotta have Reginald.
I guess Laura, I guess Kelly would probably be it. I was trying to think maybe Rachel. Aunt Rachel, she had a big role, and then they brought obviously little Nicky got older, and he was part of it. But yeah, I mean, I think probably that's right because you can't get Eddie.
No, you can't get Eddie. You don't know what you're gonna get from Eddie.
Right, I don't know if you want Darius McCrary.
Yeah, Eddie. I don't know what you're gonna get from him. Like he's just been all across the spectrum and all things not Family Matters.
I honestly think you could do it with two. If you just had Carl and Steve, you'd be fine.
Carl, but I think Laura would bring it all together.
I agree with you. I'm just saying if you could only have two, then you'd have Carl and Steve, or you would have Steve and Laura.
Yeah,
one of the two. But I would want it. I would want Carl because I thought it was so important. His character was his character was so important.
Well, him and Steve together, that was the show after a while, right?
That's right, because it's almost like father and son.
It was, and Harriet was pretty good, so I liked her character a whole lot on there. But just having the back and forth with Carl and Steve Urkel, I would love to hear how that kind of blossomed together, because Steve wasn't the main character and kind of made himself a main character, right? By the fan base, really.
Yeah, I mean, he was supposed to be the crazy neighbor, just like a lot of shows have had, and then it became him, and then it went off the rails with the Time Machine and the Stefan Urkel, and they just ran out of ideas. Eventually, you were going to have to do something different, and they didn't. Another one was suggested, and I would wholeheartedly agree, is Home Improvement. Because you get Tim and you get Al.
Yeah.
Problem is, Patricia Richardson was kind of the reason that show went downhill late, and she wanted to be paid as much, and she was very like, make this show about me and not my husband anymore, make it about me going to school and all this. She got apparently she was difficult.
It was Tim's
in the latter
show.
years, right? But she wanted it to be hers. She wanted Jill to become kind of the main feature. If you go and start watching the later episodes, you'll see it. It's about her college career and her breaking out of just being a housewife and all the other stuff. It was all about her ambition, and the show ended with him giving up a lot so that she could be closer to a practice she was going to start.
You ain't nobody.
If you go read it. Pat Richardson was difficult.
Oh, come on. Stardom, fandom just gets to people, right?
Damn so ain't cute.
Man,
And my comedian friend who actually had mentioned earlier that one of my jokes sounded like something from Etsy that you'd stitch. Something on Pinterest. That football, you can't spell football without fall. He said Karen Parsons is in The Ladies' Man, and then he said, "How dare you?" I'm like, oh, okay.
She was in the late.
I remember the skits, the movies. I watched
the
the
movie. What was another show that I love to see podcasted? Oh no, this is what I was going to tell you. Guess what? I finally saw the end of, and I never seen the ending of it. Martin, the TV show. After like him and Gina,
I don't remember the finale at all.
It's crazy. They ended up going to L.A. because Martin got the big show and Gina was out there for a job too. And I mistakenly had gotten to it, Jason. Like it wasn't because him and Gina weren't filming together because they had a little bit of an issue. And she came out later and wasn't even partially true. It was real wild, man, how that kind of broke up. But it was my first time ever seeing the end, and it kind of ended like Fresh Prince did. Yeah, Martin was in the apartment.
A lot of shows end that way. Like
I didn't realize
that's a trope. Is usually the family moves away into an empty house so that they can the show ends in the setting without anybody standing there. Like somebody will walk off the set, and then all that's left is the set, and the lights will turn off.
That's exactly what it was.
Friends ended the same way.
Did
Friends,
it really?
They moved. They all moved out of that building, right?
Yeah.
And it ends up being just a camera shot that goes across that place that you had watched for 11 seasons, 10 seasons, and then it does the close up on the eye hole on the door, which was famous because it had a frame around it.
Yeah.
And it just goes into that and black.
Huh.
That kind of thing happens a lot in TV.
In a degenerate type of way, I love to see The Wire podcasted. From even the city officials and everything else, like how close it was to what Baltimore was at the time.
There've been so many oral histories and
all
that. I mean, I have the book that was released years ago, and that has been mined, but it would definitely be there.
Yeah,
for sure. Jeremy's on line. Jeremy, what's up?
What's up, Jeremy?
Hey, good morning, guys. You can't get enough of the stuff that we all grew up on. I was telling Shay minutes ago when I called in. If you guys haven't caught those shows on Netflix, the Toys That Made Us.
Yeah, they're great.
Mm-hmm.
They're great.
They are absolutely great, man. And there's, I think I have conversations with my buddies and see what you guys take on it. Is that, like, some of the stuff, man, is like, held sacred. And one of the movies that I always wanted to see them try to attempt to do a remake of was like the Back to the Futures. Because like with Ready Player One and the graphics and stuff like that they're able to use, with CG and stuff like that to make. And I finally caught that the Maverick, Top Gun Maverick, and I tell people that is a must see. I'm critical about the movies that I go see in movie theaters, and I want to go see that one again.
It's phenomenal.
It really is,
Yeah.
and they did the original one justice, and so I just wanted to see what you guys thought about what movies should be left alone and what shows should be left alone. And when you're talking about Good Burger, if you go back and watch All That, the show that was the Saturday Night Live for kids back then, that stuff was really good, but then they tried to take it too far. They tried to take it too far with the movie with Good Burger, and that's when it got cheesy and it lost its appeal. But I'm on my way to work, guys. I'll listen to what I got to say. Talk to you later.
Jeremy. Yeah, man, appreciate it. So I always was very against a Back to the Future reboot just because I still think the classic holds up.
Mm-hmm.
The trilogy stands alone, and I just don't want to see that thing get tarnished because it was a perfect movie.
Yeah.
And then I did suggest this. There is a reason why I could at least foresee that you could try this. And it's because Tom Holland exists. When I started watching Tom Holland, I'm like, he reminds me of Michael J. Fox. He reminds me a lot of Michael J. Fox, and even his voice and the way he talks and the way he moves. He's young. He's an A-lister. He's got a bright future. He can be a Marty McFly.
Yep.
He's the first guy that I've ever seen where I was just like, if they decided to do it and Tom Holland was associated with it, they might be able to pull it off.
Wow.
Outside of that, I don't want to see it. But Tom Holland, I've just started thinking that in the last year or so. It's just kind of hit me. Wait a second. He could do this if they were going to do this.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. Tom Holland, man, is is everybody's remake of everything they do, because him and Spider-Man is the perfect blend together, Jay, and just he's good. I'm rocking with that one right there. If they did a Back to the Future with it, yes, absolutely. Who's your lead star though?
Of what?
Who's the scientist?
Oh, you're talking about Doc Brown?
Yeah, Doc Brown.
I mean, Christopher Lloyd's still alive, but you wouldn't use him now. I don't
be the
think.
Same. Yeah.
I don't see that's the again. I don't really. I'm just saying that you've got a piece of it if you wanted to try it.
Yeah.
I'd have to think about that a lot. So what show would you want to see in terms of a podcast version? We'll keep to that. I see Eric and Cousin Joey and some other people, so we're having fun with that topic. My comedian friend Andrew again said Chappelle Show Pod with Dave Chappelle, Neil Brennan, and Donnell Rawlings. And then Everybody Loves Podcasts, and that would be Everybody Loves Raymond, and that would be near the top of my list. The problem is Doris Roberts, Marie, has passed on. Peter Boyle, Frank, has passed on. But Ray, Nashville's own Patricia Heaton, who is one of my favorite women in the world, and Brad Garrett are all still there. And so you would have, you'd have Ray, Deborah, and Robert.
Yeah.
And that, I think that would be a tremendous podcast.
Tell you what I wouldn't want to see, somebody discussing unsolved mysteries.
I just don't want to hear that theme because that theme scares me even to this day.
We're on the same page, sir.
Well, that's right. More of your phone calls coming up. Jay Martin, Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Only thing I said when we went to break was, I know what we're coming back with. I saw somebody in the chat say, I know what we're coming back with. People get it. I just know something's about to frighten me.
Oh, wow. At my grandmama's house?
You couldn't do a podcast on Unsolved Mysteries because there's nothing to update. They're unsolved mysteries.
I would hope so by now, Jay.
So I didn't know this, but Tom Holland actually confirmed remake talks have happened about Back to the Future and him. There was also a deep fake with him and Robert Downey Jr. doing Doc Brown. And people were like, wow, this could actually work when they saw it.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, they talked about it. And then basically he said, look, that's one of the most perfect films of all time. You can't make it better. I agree. But at the same time, again, I do think the comparison and him potentially playing a role could work conceivably in a universe where I don't think you need necessarily a remake of that. Because, go ahead.
I was going to say, I went down this rabbit hole of looking at top 90 shows just on anybody's random list. And it's a lot of shows that only lasted 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
And to me, I thought they lasted forever.
Yeah, they feel like because they're part of your childhood, or part of your experience, and you watched them for a long time, and you realize it was a 2-year run. It was not very long at all.
Like Darkwing Duck was 91 and 92 only. Tailspins was 90 and 91. Yep. We watched that religiously. Just all of it, man. What was another one? Ren and Stimpy was 5 years. Dinosaurs was short-lived also. I guess maybe they just reran them over and over. This is pretty wild.
It is true. I saw Michael put this in the chat that a lot of the classic unsolved mysteries have actually been solved, and most of them weren't supernatural, which of course they weren't.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is, like, you don't remember the mysteries. You just remember it being terrifying in the moment, right? Like, it's not like anything. I don't remember a single unsolved mystery. I just remember Robert Stack scaring the daylights out of me when I was at my grandma's house.
Yeah.
Cousin Joey in Cross Plains. Joey, what's up?
Help me.
Good morning, fam.
Morning.
One I would like to listen to a podcast about would be That 70s Show. With Hyde and Foreman and Kelso and Jackie and Donna and Fez. I think that one would actually be pretty interesting.
Yeah, look, a lot of that cast is going on to do a lot of stuff. That one would definitely be interesting.
Yeah.
There's a deep cast there. Trying to pick 3 might be tough, but I think you could probably do it. They're spread out doing so much stuff, it'd be hard to keep them in the same room.
Yeah.
You have to record like a season of it at a time in order to make that work. Eric in Nashville. What's up, Eric?
What's up, Eric?
Hey guys, before I get to mine, guys, 2 shows you probably heard in the last few days that they're doing reboots of. They're going to do a reboot of Frasier.
Yeah.
And they're also doing a reboot of Who's the Boss. Just the dad and the daughter, Tony Danza and Alyssa Milano. I don't know if they're going to be able to get like Angela for a few episodes or son Jonathan. I know Catherine Hellman is dead, but those are just 2. In fact, they've got stars of both of those shows who I would love to see like podcasts of. One is Cheers. I would love to see it with George. Yeah, George Wendt as Norm, John Ratzenberger, Cliff. Maybe you could get Woody or even Frasier, who's that those. I know Shelley Long, Diane is dead, and of course that woman Rebecca, of course, was terrible. So everybody hated her, thought she was a bad actress. The Kristen Allen, I just heard chemistry was just saying. Heard Sam, that was not as good as him and Diane. The other one I would like to see is Taxi, and I know that's kind of off the beat show. I know Danny DeVito, of course, is still alive. I would see him, and if Christopher Lloyd, who played the Reverend Jim, could do it, maybe Elaine or Alex. I know Laka's dead, but 2 of my all-time favorite scenes in that show, one was where the Reverend Jim, Christopher Lloyd, was trying to pass his test for a taxi driver, and he was asking the question to Bob. He says, what does the yellow light mean? And he said, slow down. And every time he said that, he goes slow and slow. What does the yellow light mean? And the other one was one of my all-time favorite scenes where when they were talking about memories of the cab, and Louis, the Dan DeVito character, was in the cab with a little kid, and he says, I bet you I can tell you the score of the Boston Celtics New York Knicks game before it starts. He says, you can't any better. And he said 0-0. And another one where he said, I bet you I can say all 50 states in less than a minute. And he said, you're on. And he said, all 50 states. And then Louis, to get his money back, they had a breathing contest, and he pretended to collapse. And the little kid said, you all right? And Louis said, you breathe. And he got his all money back. He goes, yeah. It's just the way his character was just hilarious. just a disgusting human being, but it was hilarious. Guys, y'all take care, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, Eric. So Shelley Long is alive, by the way. Diane Chambers is still alive. Problem is nobody wants to work with her.
Yeesh.
She was on Modern Family, as a matter of fact, from time to time. I think that was a show she was on all the time. But yeah, she's notoriously impossible to deal with. Incredible diva. Like,
yeah,
she's like Kyrie or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it was real bad. Kirstie Alley got along with that cast way better than Shelley Long did. So I'd be surprised if they were to come back. The other thing I'll tell you is they're doing the Frasier reboot's in the final stages that Kelsey Grammer's talking about. We don't need a Frasier reboot. Frasier's one of the two most decorated comedies of all time in terms of Emmy Awards and just nominations and all of that. It spawned Modern Family because Modern Family was the same show.
Yeah.
They took the same creators, went and did Modern Family and used the exact same premise of misunderstandings in order to do everything that they did. You can't reboot a show that was that worked so well. It's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, spinoff ever because it spun off of Cheers and won more awards than Cheers ever did.
Yeah. I'll tell you a show that I loved as a kid, but the reboot I paid zero attention to it was Flash.
You talking about the CW Flash?
CW
the
Flash.
Flash was good.
The Flash in the 90s was awesome. You like the new one too?
Yeah, I never watched the other one.
Yeah.
I mean, I read the comics, obviously, but the Flash of all those shows, the Arrow, the Flash, the Legends of Tomorrow, the Flash was the one that I actually liked.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily get into it, and I'm talking about I sat around a while watching it as a kid, like, oh, this is so awesome the way he slowed it down, or the way he would just zoom off, you know what I'm saying, to fight crime or whatever it was. I didn't pay attention to the new one, man. I almost feel bad by not because I loved it so much as a kid. Though.
Yeah, it was good. For what that show was supposed to be, it was definitely good. Some people have mentioned, multiple people have mentioned Married with Children.
Yes.
Ed O'Neill is just constantly great in everything he does. I'd love to hear him and Katie Seagal, who has remained, she's been excellent in everything she's done. She was phenomenal in Sons of Anarchy. The two of them and probably Applegate.
Christina Applegate. Yeah.
I don't know what David Faustino is even up to.
Rapping.
Is that what he's doing?
He was for a little while. For
I didn't
real.
know that.
Yeah. That's why a little bit of his. I was on this thread. This guy I follow on IG does like these historical threads of shows and stuff like that. That's where I got the Fred Sanford info from. And apparently he really wanted to be taken very serious as a rapper. If you look at some of the way he did his character on Married with Children, he was always in black clothing and stuff like that, trying to be like a hip hop guy. And turns out that he actually took that craft very serious. He had a few songs and like features with some big time rappers and stuff. It's actually pretty interesting. I don't think he's in rap now or music now, but that was one of his stilos that he did.
Interesting.
While on the show. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep. He filmed his video in all black and white to be taken serious because, you know, white rappers in the 90s weren't taken as serious as they are now. And that was one of the things he tried to portray himself as. Look at his character on Married with Children. You kind of see that's what he kind of channeled a little bit. He enjoyed that a little bit more than acting, they said.
There's a lot of things that are being rebooted. I see Quantum Leap has a series order. There's just different stuff that's happening. And some of them is just kind of like, it's just a reminder that most of the ideas, most of the good ideas are kind of gone.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff is just a retread now.
I had a buddy of mine, Sean, text me, said, different world. I think that would be a pretty good one. Of course, you can't have it without.
I mean, you'd have to have Kadeem Hardison.
Yeah.
You'd have to have Lisa Bonet.
Yep.
And probably Dawn Lewis.
Dawn Lewis, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Lisa Bonet, is it hard to get her?
I don't know. You
now?
only see her when she wants to be seen.
When she want to be seen. Which is a good thing for her, I guess. That's the way she's always operated. Different World would be good. Married with Children, I would like to see that. I'll be honest.
I think it'd work. I think that would definitely work. Because all of them have gone on to do good things. And those three have had good careers, the three that I mentioned specifically. There's, some reboots are better and some you just kind of like to see move on. But I'm interested in Pod Meets World. I would like Ben Savage to be a part of it.
Yeah.
but at least you get the other 3. And if that's not his thing and he's trying to carve out a new career, you can't really blame him for that. I just want to see how long this goes before he decides he wants to jump into it. Because if it takes off, and a lot of this stuff does, if it takes off, it's better than what he's currently doing.
Because I can tell you anything he's done.
I had to go look it up.
Yeah, he's done absolutely nothing, man. Wonder Years. We mentioned that one?
No.
I never saw Wonder Years.
Again, Fred's in a little bit of legal issues right now.
Yeah.
And I think Dan Lauria passed away. I think he passed away. I need to double check that. I need to make sure I'm not killing somebody off here.
Please don't do it what the internet
no,
does
I think he
on
actually
Radio
is still
Jack.
alive. He died in the show. I keep forgetting. He's still alive. He's 75. He's still alive.
Dang. 75.
And then I guess you go find Jason Hervey.
Yeah. Who's Jason Hervey?
He's his brother.
Oh,
Wayne.
okay.
Those would probably be the ones that you would look at.
Yeah.
In that moment. So are you seeing, as we just completely shift, are you seeing now Kevin Durant? There are people in LA that think the Lakers are getting him and Kyrie Irving to play with LeBron James. And then there's Kevin Durant going back to Golden State, which I asked Ron point blank yesterday. Is that the softest move that would ever happen in sports if he went back there?
By him or by them?
It would be perceived as the softest thing ever because you left because you wanted credit. You left because you weren't loved. You won one playoff series.
Yeah.
You have a losing record during that time frame, and then you go back and join them right after they win the world championship. The 2 teams that were the top 2 on his list were the Heat and the Suns. You know what they have in common?
What's that?
They're the number 1 seeds in the Eastern and Western Conference this past season. So Charles Barkley calling you a bus rider. If you don't want to be a bus rider, go to Orlando and win a championship with Paolo Banchero.
Yes.
Go somewhere else. You really want to win? You want to win people back. Go back to Oklahoma City alongside Chet Holmgren and win a championship there.
Do what LeBron did, basically.
Right.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. Again, I'm a KD fan. I never shy away from that, man. But this is getting kind of too friendly for me. I agree. You know how my mentality is go get it however you have to, just not that way. Don't lean on anybody else entirely to get what you want. Look, if you're that guy and you say that you're that guy and you operate like you're that guy too, you better be able to do some stuff on your own. And it seemed like he hasn't. I mean, in OKC, he had his squad. That was the team. But the egos got too big. And then you go to freaking Golden State. He can't go back to Golden State.
Can't do it.
I know he enjoys the idea of being wanted. And he's got the ring, so he's in the group. He's in the band, right? What does Shaq always go at Charles about? Charles, you ain't got the ring. You know what I'm saying? But KD is in that conversation. He has the rings. He has the league MVPs. He has all of those things. I'm at a point to where it gets kind of frustrating looking at that side of sports to where you're not happy unless you're determining what you want to do all the time. Like sometimes it's good to just settle and build a niche in one place. You know what I'm saying? Like, get a statue outside of a building that you've helped build something up. Say what you want to about LeBron. There's a lot of LeBron haters. There's haters of every player. Screw that. But LeBron went back to Cleveland and did it his way. Whether he was a GM of what players they decided to get or not, he did go back and build at the place that he started at. And I respect that a whole lot more. We're giving the flack about going to Miami, not 1, not 2, not 3, all of that. But he got the one. He got the one alone. The one thing that Kobe was most proud of was which one? Number 5. When he got it without Shaq. And I don't know if it was the most proud, but I think everybody just over the top stamped Kobe more when he did it without the big diesel. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was his show. He got the ring on his own, and that's why he's forever in the rafters. That's why he's got statues. That's why Kobe's the guy. The mentality of being one of the greatest athletes. You know what I'm saying? Is a huge thing. Your reputation is what people know you by. Especially when it comes down to sports, man. We're looking at a guy, Harry, AJ, in a sense. He's talking about he's got an all-star team in Philadelphia right now, and I'm just trying to figure out to myself, like, what do you mean? Like, you wouldn't join them, and you better show out. That's the same thing I think we can charge everybody with when it comes down to you being the man in your sport. KD with this, man, is a little bit of a knock if he decides to go back.
Yeah,
or even
I don't
to the
think he
Lakers.
will. I don't think if you go to the Lakers, first off, if you're trying to have an argument between LeBron and KD, you can't if you go play with the guy.
No,
you can't ever do that. I would just say Kevin Durant's an outstanding basketball player, but there's nothing about him that's ever said leader. In Oklahoma City, Russell Westbrook ran the team.
Mm-hmm.
You know it if you watched all those Thunder games. I did. Kevin Durant was a great player, but he was not a leader.
Yeah.
Went to Golden State, that was Steph's team.
Yep.
Even if Kevin Durant was the best player. And he's been the best player at every stop he's been. He's the best player in Golden State. He's the best player in Oklahoma City. He's the best player in Brooklyn. If he goes to the Lakers, guess what? He'll be the best player with the Lakers.
Yes, he will be.
Because he's that special. But there's a difference between being a baller, like an all-time great, and a leader. And I'm not sure Kevin Durant's built that way.
And see, that's the thing, too. If he didn't speak as much as he did, I ain't going to say speak as much as he did. You speak as much as you want to. But if you didn't go back at folks that came at you at the rate that he does,
that's right.
I think it'd be a little bit more forgivable.
It would help.
It would also be in the sense of, okay, well, just watch me do work. You don't like me, but watch me. And he doesn't have that he doesn't have that approach to either social media or people that critique him who are paid to do those types of things. And because of that, like you said, we bring up the leadership aspect of what he's got going on. If you just ball Kawhi, then we reserve to say, okay, Kawhi just his thing. He might be the most selfish dude in the NBA. We don't know that because he's not giving us any material. KD is giving us material, and that type of material is what has people saying, no, what you're doing is unforgivable. We're not going to let you go to the Lakers and you be the man. Or the conversation
It's not unforgivable. It's just lame.
It's okay.
Lame.
So lame and unforgivable to
Lame's
me is
right.
almost the same thing in a sense.
There's
so,
a difference
Shay,
between being
look
a
at the way you
leader-
screw up your face right now.
It's not unforgivable. It's just
He's
lame.
an absolute assassin on a basketball floor.
Hands
One
down.
of the greatest that has ever done it.
Slim
One of the
Reaper.
greatest that will ever do it. He's an absolute assassin. But do you want him fronting your team? I'm not so sure. And I'm not so sure his mindset is to front the team. It's to go out and get you 30 and to go out and play defense and try to win championships. I've just never seen him run a team. I've never seen him really just, it's my
And
squad.
from what I saw, what they would give up for KD, it'd be great for those players. But if you Golden State and want to remain relevant, no. Jordan Poole, off the block.
Yep.
Wiseman, off the block.
Yeah.
All of that young group that's supposed to be behind these Clay and Steph and Draymond, me personally, just for one more ring, nah.
No, I think the reputation never comes back from that. Because then it's like, oh, so you couldn't do it. So now you're going to go back. So you've proved Draymond Green right. You've proved Charles Barkley right. You've chosen all. That's the only place he cannot go. I would say the Lakers is another one, but
what about
the Warriors? Is the one he can't go to.
Suns? Because they're ready made.
I'm going to go win Chris Paul his ring. That's what that is. That's better. That's far better. But again, you're joining a number one seed. And I guess you can't fault him for that, but it's not like you carried somebody to a title.
Soft.
Maybe you were a missing piece, but that was about it.
Portland would make more sense.
Yeah, if you went to Portland and won with Dame.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be more because it always felt like Portland was never going to get there.
Yeah.
Utah. Go join Donovan Mitchell and somehow win with him.
Oh,
I think he's almost
Utah's about to go through a
Agreed.
complete rebuild.
I think Donovan's going to leave.
Yeah, I would.
I would too. But I've even seen like Dallas go play with Luka. I don't know.
We have a few folks asking. I know we're up against the break. Why not Memphis? Or do you think he would fit in with Ja?
I know Memphis has dropped off the Vegas odds entirely. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think KD's playing in Memphis.
No.
I think there's also location
You
here.
got to have a city.
The biggest reason he wants to play with the Suns is Monty Williams. Because they had 1 year together in Oklahoma City where he was the assistant coach. And Durant and Monty Williams are super tight. Monty was kind of a father figure to him while he was there in his last season. That's a big pull for him to go to Phoenix.
Yeah.
Miami's obvious. It's Pat Riley. It's Eric Spoelstra. It's a winning culture.
That's Jimmy's team, though.
That's right. For now it is. But I don't know if Spoelstra even likes Jimmy Butler. Because I don't know if anybody likes Jimmy Butler.
Except for his espresso
that has to deal
machine.
with it. I like Jimmy Butler. 615-737-1045. Midweek Motivation?
Yeah!
Coming up next, Jay Martin Ramon, 1045 The Zone. Welcome back. J. Mart and Ramon, 104.5 is finishing up the Wednesday show. My wife earlier asked me a question about a sale that's available, place we go on Tuesdays. I'm like, it's Wednesday. She said, absolutely did not.
Oh, wow.
She totally forgot. Man, CG's got us all backwards.
She's
sideways.
She's walking.
She's probably walking right now. Grandy doesn't even know what she's in for today.
Grandy's coming through?
Yeah, Grandma's is there today, and
I understand.
CG is jogging around the house.
You better get them hips loose, Grandma. Better put that ointment on and get ready for the child, because kids stay ready, as you've learned.
She's always ready. I had to read the same book to her 8 times last night in a row. She just moves it back to the first page, sits back, puts a thumb in the mouth. She's like, I want Little Owl Snow again. No. It's not even winter time, and I'm reading a Christmas book to her, basically.
We were Raindrop Plop. That was us.
We don't have that one.
That's a good one because it rhymes, but as a parent, you get fed up with it because it's repetitive, and it builds on it, and you got to, oh, my God, Raindrop Plop.
Man, speaking of raindrops, we could use them right now. It's hot, man. Ovens in the country, especially in our part of the country, are jealous right now.
Yeah, they are.
Gold jewelry is melting. Mm-hmm. And Ron Slade walks out of the house with a Caramello bar, and then he's got a glass of hot chocolate without even having to do anything. Just walk out. If you've got a candy bar, walk out and make sure it's in a cup.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have a nice warm beverage.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be real good.
Real fast.
Terrible.
This one's funny. It's so hot you can tell who has plastic surgery.
Oh, that's cold.
That's funny.
It's a lot of
it's
that.
not cold. That's the whole point. It's very, very hot.
It's cold-blooded is what it is.
Firecrackers lighting themselves.
We lit off everything without incident this weekend too. This past Monday, everybody was well. No, Josh got hit with a firecracker in his knee. Everybody hit in the knee.
The way he trolls, he probably deserved it.
He did.
He's the chat. He's the chat one.
He's so friggin'. I'm telling you, in person, he's this way though. I'm like, Josh, you're in my house acting like.
You know what we call that? Karma.
Karma. Oh my God. I'm like, you're in my house acting like this, Josh. Why are you this way? Love my brother-in-law.
I feel like Jeff Jarrett right now.
Do you now? Do you?
Quit, bitch.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't believe we can say that on air. And Double J did.
I don't know if we could, but we did.
And now we got it.
It's so hot, I took off my flesh and sat on my bones. Wow.
Ew.
That's kind of gross.
Oh, speaking of fireworks, I told you about that gruesome story I saw on IG. Oh, beer and fireworks, alcohol and fireworks.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't mix. Don't mix. As far as I'll go.
If you're too drunk to fish, you're too drunk to shoot off fireworks.
Put ice cubes in your waterbed.
That'll do it.
That'll work too. That'll work.
Fire ants are literally on fire.
That's right.
Literally on fire.
Like have y'all seen many mosquitoes this year though? Like, is it too hot for them?
I haven't seen a lot of them.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the cold winter we had.
I'll tell you what we haven't. I tell you what we haven't seen this year.
What? Talk to
cicadas.
I don't think we were supposed to.
Nah.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
My guy is still not over. He's not over the cicadas. That was a loud summer last year. Yeah, mosquitoes have been low. And I'm proud of that.
So it's hot. Just insanely hot. Spatulas, fellas. If you missed that podcast, wherever you get to podcast.
Scrape them up.
We'll do all this tomorrow. We'll have 4 more hours of radio. Buck's coming up next. We bring in Nicky Johnson, our brother, who I said last week I was just so disappointed I wasn't even going to ask Hank for shade on you because I knew he wasn't going to give it to me.
He ain't.
I was hoping that he would. I was hoping he would choose violence. Didn't choose violence at all. All right, Hank.
Thick as thieves, Hank. Thick as thieves.
My guy back. He's back. He's back, man. You back, Mo? You back, baby?
I am. I'm back. I ain't going nowhere. Other than I'll see you in August for the Braves-Houston game.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
I saw him getting on you, though, Mo, about being back, man, on Twitter. They was giving it to you.
It's hard out here, Ink. It's hard, man. It's all, you know what I mean?
It's hard
by
working
that.
1 day a week.
One day a week.
You see what I'm saying?
1 day a week, man. I'm going to get into it, man. So
Go
I can
ahead.
get you guys to going about your business. But, I'm not sure if you guys have seen the movie
Top Gun Maverick. Man, I went to see it. It was phenomenal. And, of course, you know, the top pilot, you know, his call name is Maverick, right? And he was called in to train some F-18 pilots to go on a mission, right? And it was some of the most talented, you know, top pilots around. And it was, I think, 18 of them, and then they broke it down to 12, and then they took in the battle to complete the mission. They took 6. And so they had a certain time that they had to complete the mission within, right? And this time seemed like it was insane, right? But Maverick, the top guy, which Tom Cruise, he was like, no, I think we can do it within this time. And so with the pilots, all of them had to complete this time, but they had a partner, right? And so it was 2 pilots that I want to focus and bring context to my message on. There was a guy named Rooster, who used to be Maverick's partner, but he ended up losing his life, and it was his son. And there was a guy named Hangman, right? And Hangman was this talented cat, right? Like almost like the athlete that you bring into college. He's talented. He can run fast. He can jump. He's strong. Like he got all the skills to pay the bills, right? And Rooster had the other side. He had the compassion. He had the empathy. He cared. He would never leave a partner behind, right? And so when they had to complete this mission within a certain time frame, Rooster would never make it, not because he wasn't talented enough. He would never make it because he would always go back to get his partner if his partner wasn't making the time. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you had Hangman. Hangman can go fast, right? If Hangman's partner wasn't making the time, Hangman would just leave him and cross the finish line and say, hey, man, my partner just got to be faster, right? Because Hangman's sole mission was to make it to be in that final 6 to go to the mission with Maverick. And so when it came time to pick the team, everybody thought Maverick, the top pilot, was going to pick Hangman over Rooster, right? Because they had a certain time to make. And truth be told, Hangman would make the time. He was fast, right? But when it came time to pick the team, Maverick didn't pick Hangman. Maverick picked Rooster. And so when they went on the mission, something happened. Something went wrong, right? And they seen why Maverick chose Rooster over Hangman. When the opposition hit, when the challenge hit, when the mission went wrong, if his partner would have been Hangman, the guy who was talented with no empathy, the guy that was skillful but he didn't care, the guy that had the speed and the skills to pay the bills, but if his partner would have got left behind, Hangman would have just crossed the finish line and said, hey, man, he got to be faster. But on the opposite end, Maverick, the top pilot, he chose Rooster, who very seldomly made the time in training. But when they got in the real mission and opposition showed up, Rooster went back to get Maverick. And most people in the middle of the opposition, they wondered. They said, man, Maverick is dead. And so when they told him to cross the finish line, Rooster was like, nah, I got to go back and get it, right? I got to go back and make sure my partner makes it. And for most of us, we look at the most talented person, and we always want the most skillful person on our team, in our organization. We always want the most skillful recruit. But sometimes it's about the soft skills. Sometimes it's about choosing compassion, empathy, a person that cares more, a person that makes sure you make it. How about every single day we go out and we be the people that's not just skilled and talented, we go out and we be the people that's willing to go back and make sure that somebody that's struggling, somebody that's on the fence, somebody that looks as if they're not going to make it, we be the guy that's like Rooster and go back and say, hey, man, I know I got the skills to pay the bills. I know I can make it. But this day, this time, I'm going to go back and I'm going to care for you, and I'm going to make sure you make it as well. It's not always about being the most talented and skillful. Sometimes it's about caring, showing empathy and compassion to make